What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Omni-sensei here with What If I Was Reborn in DC as Bruce Wayne? The Strongest Batman. Part 5. If you enjoy this type of content, please furiously deliver thorough justice to the like button. For Gotham. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Remember to check out the original story linked in the description. Let's get into the rise of the strongest Batman in history without further ado. I don't care if you're the son of the president or what. That just shows the success of your father. It doesn't mean you are excellent too. Mikoto Juju, last game. Omniscient POV. Shit. What are you waiting for, William? Call Henry now and tell him not to submit those documents, or we will all be ruined. A random board member who could no longer tolerate the silence and the tension in the air lost his cool and yelled at the sweating CEO. William didn't verbally respond to him. He didn't even have the energy to reply to him. So, he just nodded and gestured to another board member who was his close friend to make the call and stop him. Earl didn't know if Bruce was bluffing or not, but he couldn't take a chance on something like this. One false step and his entire life would be ruined before being shipped to jail. He loved his position as a CEO, but he wasn't an idiot to love it more than his own life and freedom. What do you want? He somehow spoke out after taking a few deep breaths while gulping down his panic. Me? I am a very minimalistic person. I need very few things in life, and right now, the company is one of those few things. So, if you would be so kind as to sign the paper, we could all end things on a happy note and maybe even go home early today. Bruce gave them a charming smile, like he was the friendliest person in the world. But we built this company with our own hands. It is made from our blood, sweat, and tears. We deserve to be a part of this company as much as your family. A female board member protested with righteous anger visible on her face. No, you don't deserve anything, Miss Valerie, especially not after stealing $100 million from the last guided missile system defense project Wayne Enterprises received from Canada. You siphoning so much money from the project while delivering a below-average product is the reason why LexCorp succeeded in taking so many of our defense contracts. So no, none of you guys deserve to be here, to be part of this company. The truth is that you have always been leeches, holding on to my father's giant golden titties and sucking him dry. But now that I am here, it is time for you all to leave. You will not be profiting off me as well, nobody will. I stared hard at them, looking each of them in the eyes while an expression of disgust remained on my face. Language, Master Bruce. I am sure that your father wouldn't have liked to hear his son say stuff like that about him. And no, it doesn't matter if it is true or not, Alfred said in a no-nonsense tone of voice. Well, whatever. Bruce didn't argue with his butler and just decided to compromise a little. If we agree to leave the company, you will not threaten us again with this, right? The old Asian-looking board member who was panicking the most in the meeting room, probably because of his scandalous affair with his own daughter, asked as he took out a pen from his pocket to sign the document. Yep. As long as you agree, everything you read in that letter there will go away. You will never have to worry about me ever again. Fine, I will do it. I will sell you all my Wayne Enterprise shares and give up my board seat. Just leave me alone after this. The old Asian man said with clenched teeth as he went ahead and signed on the paper. You think you can take control of this company with just a few signatures, boy? Don't forget that the company is public. Even if we sell you our shares, the company will still never be under your complete control. Someone else will just take our place. So whatever you are doing, in the end, it will all be useless. William threatened. Maybe, maybe not. But you don't need to bother with that, do you? You see, in reality, Wayne Enterprises has been lagging behind LexCorp in the defense, aerospace, and other industries that both companies compete in. This has caused a decline in the stock value of Wayne Enterprises, even though almost all mob bosses and corrupt politicians of Gotham are for some reason minor shareholders in Wayne Enterprises. However, the situation changed dramatically when a piece of peculiar news broke out about 5 minutes into this very meeting that several board members of Wayne Enterprises had dumped their stocks and resigned from their positions, triggering a massive sell-off in the market. The share price of Wayne Enterprises crashed and plummeted to a record low. That was when Cortana made her move, acquiring almost all the shares of the company with swift and decisive action. And what about the board members who are not here? Are you also going to blackmail them as well? William shouted in anger. He was one of the few board members in the meeting who still hadn't agreed to sign till that moment. They weren't traitors like you. They were surprisingly loyal to my father and me, and thus they received their due. Unlike you all, I handed them golden parachutes instead of ultimatums. The shares they held of the company were bought by me at a much higher rate than the market, along with other added benefits. And not a single one of them refused to sell me their stakes in the company when I requested. In fact, some of them will even be remaining as advisors in the company. I answered while enjoying the expressions of jealousy and powerlessness on the faces of those present here. You have thought of everything, haven't you? You are smarter than your father, and unlike your father, you are always prepared. Fine, I guess I have no other choice. Well played, William said as he looked at all the other board members, most of whom had already agreed with Bruce's conditions. Just remember that this is not over. There are forces beyond what you can imagine involved here. The middle-aged CEO said with a hesitant voice as he signed the document, his face not at all seeming happy to submit to Bruce's demands. Bruce, on the other hand, didn't respond to this and just smirked. He knew of the Court of Owls trying to affect Wayne Enterprises, but he didn't care. After he successfully concludes his plan, his wealth will no longer be affected by any organization, including the court. After William Earl signed, the last of the few reluctant board members remaining also agreed as they admitted defeat. None of them wanted to wage an all-out war with Bruce Wayne, especially since he now had access to all their dirty secrets. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for giving me your valuable time and most of all for your cooperation. Hope we will do business again soon. Bruce mocked as he got up from his seat. Congratulations on being the new owner of Wayne Enterprises, Bruce. But unfortunately, even though you got the entire company, you still wouldn't be able to enjoy it. What you stole from us just now was only the parent company, a mere shell of what it was originally before your parents died. Most of its most important sectors have already been converted into subsidiaries and taken public. Wayne Enterprises doesn't even have any influence on some of those new companies. And making all their shares crash as well in the stock market is impossible without the SEC arresting you. So, Wayne Enterprises will never be able to go back to its glory days, no matter what. Earl cursed as a satisfied smirk appeared on his face. He now truly hated Bruce Wayne and wanted nothing more than to see him fail. Yeah, they did go public. But I have been buying all their shares every time they registered themselves publicly through various foundations under me, just like I bought all the company assets that you tried to sell away to our competitors through various bidding wars. Right now, I own all the Wayne subsidiaries. Didn't you get the memo? I mocked. Oh, and all of you, you are fired. I want the meeting room empty within 5 minutes, so chop chop. Let's go, Alfred. I think this calls for a celebration. As you say, Master Bruce. I am just glad I don't have to handle your company position anymore. I was getting really tired of these board meetings. Alfred replied as he followed Bruce out of the building, without even sparing the previous distraught board members another look. By the way, are you really going to let them all go? They did quite a number of illegal things. Scams and stealing company money were just the tip of the iceberg. I feel like letting them go without any failsafe would be a mistake. Alfred asked curiously as he and Bruce neared their car parked in the basement. I told them that the stuff that was written in the letter would be forgiven, but the thing is they committed too many crimes to write on a single piece of paper. So, I am guessing they would be going to prison for at least a few years. And by a few years, I mean at least half a decade to a full decade. Cortana will email a carefully selected list of their crimes to Commissioner Gordon, the moment the stock transfer officially concludes. She even has quite a selection to choose from. They would be in jail by tomorrow. Bruce Wayne POV. Entire Wayne Enterprises board resigns after Bruce Wayne takes the company private at $25 per share. Brilliant move from the young billionaire, or the last nail in the coffin. Wayne Enterprises stocks crash and get reduced to pennies after board members resign. Has the prince finally become a pauper now? Details of his education, net worth, alleged affairs, and more on page 3, mass arrest of multiple board members of Wayne Enterprises on charges of financial fraud, bribery, and corporate espionage. Is Bruce Wayne involved? Lucius Fox, CEO of Wayne Solutions, announces merger between Wayne Solutions and Wayne Enterprises into a new Wayne Solutions. Bruce Wayne announces a $100 million fund for the families who lost their money in the Wayne Enterprises stock crash. Does charity truly run in the Wayne family's blood? These newspapers truly love billionaires, don't they? I chuckled after seeing the dozens of newspapers and news articles covering almost every facet of the Wayne stock crash from almost every angle possible. Be it conspiracy theories about me manipulating the share market, which weren't completely wrong, to the government trying to ruin the Wayne family. There were scores of completely different theories in different news articles. However, strangely, these articles were more focused on me rather than the board members who were fired or arrested on multiple charges of fraud, corporate sabotage, and financial theft. It seems that I am the most famous billionaire in the US of this world, due to my unique backstory and stuff. I can't say I hate it since I do like the temporary attention, but this also means that hiding my identity is going to be a huge pain in the butt for me. Yes, they love anything that sells, and right now everything with your charming face on it sells like hot pancakes. In fact, you should take a look at some of the women's magazines sometime. According to them, almost every famous actress in Hollywood has slept with you. There are even names of some male ones too in there. Apparently, females love to read about that type of stuff. Cortana said as she showed me a badly edited fan-made picture of me, looking into Brad Pitt's eyes and him winking at me with a romantic look on his face. I would have appreciated it more if you hadn't shown me that. Also, don't pretend you don't like that stuff as well. I have programmed you to have a personality, just like a real human female. So, I am pretty sure that you check those out from time to time. I snorted. No comment. Anyways, should I start up the atomic printer and start printing the nanobots? I have finished attaching the carbonadium synthesizer with the printer, so we can begin producing the perfected nanobots as soon as you give the word. Cortana quickly changed the topic. Finally. I have been waiting for this for days. Do it. Oh, and keep an eye on the radiation levels. Stuff from Marvel always tends to have some harmful side effect like releasing deadly radiation or causing cancer or vaporizing you on contact. I muttered the last part more to myself as a reminder not to blindly trust my inventions like mad scientists do. And yes, by the way, I have managed to make carbonadium, one of the strongest metals of the Marvel world that the USSR made in an effort to artificially create adamantium. It is not as durable as true adamantium, but is close enough. Truthfully, I would have liked to create adamantium, promethium, and vibranium much more than carbonadium, but this was the only metal in the tier of impossibly hard metals that could be artificially created without much effort. This was not only the best, but also the cheapest alternative to the limited naturally occurring metals that I needed. I initially wanted to use promethium to make all my suits, but turns out that even being a billionaire doesn't necessarily grant you an unlimited supply of an ultra-rare mineral. The amount I got access to was only enough for a few suits, important research purposes, and maybe a few vehicles, but that would be it. So I had to invest my time in finding an alternative that would not only be cheap and easily manufacturable, but also could rival promethium in lightness, durability, and usefulness. That's why I came up with carbonadium. Although the metal that is initially produced is highly radioactive, however, with the carbonadium synthesizer, not only its radioactivity can be completely eliminated, but it can also be used to liquefy already hardened carbonadium to make new structures, something that is impossible in the case of even adamantium. As for the atomic printer, I completed it a few days ago, and it was probably one of the most OP things I had ever made if I didn't include the soon-to-be completed nanobots. The atomic printer could print anything in its finished and usable form as long as the raw materials and the blueprint were provided. There was no need for long and strenuous manufacturing processes like welding. No, this machine could just weave the raw materials into the desired product, and thus was perfect for creating nanobots. Currently, even though it could make compounds from their elements, it couldn't change one element to another. For example, an atomic printer could print diamonds from carbon or any carbon-containing product like coal by first breaking them down into individual atoms and then using them to form a real genuine diamond that has absolutely no difference from a naturally occurring one. However, it couldn't make steel from that same coal. For that, it needed iron and the other metals that were needed to make the required steel. Oh, and also, it couldn't print complex organic stuff like food, plants, or organs. At least not yet. But he was sure that in a couple of years or maybe even months, this printer would be printing entire organic limbs for people. Process initializing, Cortana declared as drones carried slabs of different materials to a machine that looked like a huge glass microwave. Once the containers of the elements were placed inside and the huge glass compartment was sealed, the entire machine began to crackle with energy, releasing what looked like neon blue-colored lightning strikes on the materials. Within just a few seconds, in front of my own eyes, the materials began to slowly turn into dust, with the various dusts mixing with each other under the effect of the energy being released by the machine. In the cover of a blinding light, the dust once again began to slowly solidify into a giant block of shiny silver metal. Radiation level, 4 sieverts. It is extremely radioactive, sir. Being exposed to the metal for even a few hours could lead to a slow death by radiation poisoning. Should I now start up the synthesizer? Cortana asked with her hologram now wearing a lab coat and a pair of transparent eyeglasses on her face, looking more like a cute intern at a laboratory rather than an experienced researcher. Yeah, connect up the carbonadium synthesizer. Let's see if it truly lives up to its fame. Connecting to carbonadium synthesizer. Treating sample carbonadium. Radiation levels decreasing. Radiation is now at 0.00001 millisieverts. The sample metal is determined to be no longer radioactive. Preparing to start manufacturing nanobots with treated sample. Cortana chimed as she displayed the reports of the test on the screen. Soon, the cube, which was previously being bombarded by a laser, generated from the carbonadium synthesizer to treat its radioactivity again, began to change shape as bits and bits of the cube began to melt off, and then again reform into the block while being guided by a laser fired from the inner walls of the atomic printer. 100,000 nanobots. 200,000 nanobots. Cortana began to count the number of nanobots produced per minute as more and more of the carbonadium block was converted into carbonadium nanobots. Manufacturing completed. Success rate, 100%. The entire sample provided has been transformed into separate nanobots. Practical wastage of usable metal, 0. Cortana informed with pride in her voice as she showed off the same block of carbonadium silently lying on the floor. However, this time, it wasn't just a block of carbonadium, no, it was much more. Assemble it in the form of the Dark Knight Mark 001 armor, and then lock the form as a template, I commanded. That design? I don't like the color theme very much, but sure, here you go. Cortana, the treated carbonadium block, began to quickly dissolve into liquid along with the blocks of a few other materials, and then combine together and reform into the shape of a humanoid figure, turning into a completely black and gold armor standing straight inside the glass section of the atomic printer. It looked like the perfect combination of Iron Man armor and Batman armor. Maybe you were right. I think we need to change the color a little bit. A little red would look good with it, and perhaps a cape. I know about the no capes policy we agreed on, but both the cool and the fear factor of the armor would massively decrease if I didn't don a black cape with this getup. A normal cape made of fabric wouldn't have been very functional, but a cape made of almost indestructible microbots. Yeah, I think that could be useful. Cortana agreed with me as she thoughtfully stared at the armor with the eyes of a professional fashion designer. We can try out a plethora of different designs. After all, I don't even have to stick to a particular design. I can use whatever armor design I want, at any time I want, in any color I want. That is the true beauty of nanotechnology. Now, come on and help me design some more armor sets. After this, I'll have to design one for Selena too. I promised her one a couple of days ago. Are you sure that this is safe? I mean, that chamber looks too small for me to fit. Selena complained as she looked at the small cryo chamber she was supposed to enter to receive her first body modification. Don't worry, it would fit. I already tested it out when I received my own upgrade. Anyway, I actually wanted to talk to you about something before you enter the chamber. I awkwardly started. Can't it wait till after you change my body to your desires? I am already pretty nervous about this, so stop making this even harder with that serious face of yours. I get wet whenever I see your serious face. She flirted before placing a light kiss on my lips. We can talk all we want after my body undergoes the transformation tiger. In fact, we will probably do much more than talk. I think it is finally time to take our relationship to the next stage. She huskily whispered in my ears before removing all her clothes down to her bra and thongs. Meet you on the other side, she said with a smile as she walked into the cryo chamber. Within a few seconds, the cryo chamber closed under Cortana's control and released a mild neurochemical relaxing agent, immediately putting her to sleep and beginning the process of her evolution. It was a slow process and would take about a day to complete at the minimum. So she needed to be unconscious, otherwise she could die at the constant pain of having her body changed at the physiological level. This is definitely not going to end well. Only a miracle can now save you, sir. You should have gone with the aphrodisiac or the manipulation options. After all, it isn't forced if she moans. The hologram of Cortana gave her 2 bits of really bad advice from behind me. I am this close to cutting off your internet connection, you know? I threatened without even looking at her, at which she immediately became silent and went back to her work, but she couldn't continue for long as she suddenly looked at me with surprise. Sir, I have detected massive amounts of explosives at the Gotham port, along with a consignment of heavy weaponry. It's Falcone's men receiving the consignment. They look like they are preparing for a war. Maybe a territorial dispute. You told me to inform you if there is anything major happening in the city's underground forces. This might be what you were looking for. Cortana informed as she displayed a live CCTV feed of Gotham Port on the Bat computer. There were about a few dozen men spread out throughout the port with weapons in their hands. They looked like they were inspecting various containers and checking their contents, probably to make sure everything they were paying for was there. It seems that the Wayne Enterprises stock crash affected the cartels more than I thought. If I remember, Falcone had half of his fortune invested in Wayne Enterprises. It should have hit hard when he lost it all. He probably wants to snatch a few territories to make back his lost money. Cortana, I think it's finally time to don the suit. This is perfect for my vigilante debut. Batcave under Wayne family estate. Selena Kyle POV. Great, more competition. I muttered to myself in a hushed voice as the cryochamber closed in front of me. Bruce actually thinks that I don't know what he wants to tell me about. I am not an idiot. If there is someone who truly knows Bruce the most, then it's probably me. I have grown up alongside him. I know what he wants, what he thinks, and what lengths he might go to achieve his goals. I even know about his dark side and some of the less thankin' things he has done to keep everyone safe. Even Alfred doesn't know some of the stuff that I know about him. It took me a few years to realize it, but I eventually figured out what might have happened that night at Helena's house. Hell, I even know about the female alien's dead body lying in one of his frozen storage units, although I have no idea what he intends to do with it. Seriously, he should consider increasing security in some sections of the Batcave. He keeps the things in here safe, and this place people-friendly. It only takes me a few minutes to open them, and since Cortana is not supposed to report me or Alfred to Bruce unless he asks, he never even finds out that I hang out in his man cave and play with some of his cool toys whenever he is out. Anyway, as I was saying, I know Bruce the most. So, I knew that he wanted to talk to me about Nyssa, and maybe even her elder sister Talia. The moment I saw that Archer girl and her host sister, I knew that they had managed to charm Bruce. However, I am not exactly afraid of competition. I have a few tricks of my own. And if I have learned one thing from all those online articles and magazines, it is that the shortest way to a boy's heart is either through his stomach or through his D. And I know which route I am going to choose. I have learned a great many techniques online to try on him too. He wants a harem like those Japanese anime protagonists, right? So, let's see if he has the stamina to own one. By the time I am done with him, he will not even be thinking of another woman like Zatanna, Vicky, or Helena, much less new ones like Nyssa and Talia. Yep, I will suck him dry until he can't even get it up. It doesn't matter what promise I made with the other girls when we were young. What matters is that I have a head start, and I'll be damned if I am not going to use it to its full potential. He is not the only one who can be merciless. No, this kitty is going to have a happy ending no matter what. Ha 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 ha. Goddamn, this sleeping gas is making me more delusional than sleepy. Archery range, Wayne family estate. Nyssa POV. Nyssa, you should stop now. You have been practicing archery for the entire day. You need to rest. This is not healthy. Bruce wouldn't like it if he knew this. My elder sister said with a bit of worry mixed in her voice as she barged into the archery range behind the main mansion I had been using. For a stone-cold killer trained to never show her emotions, she has been slipping quite a lot these days. It's almost like she has been trying to change herself, trying to act normal. And that irritated me to no end. Because I knew why she had been trying to change, or in this case, who she had been changing herself for. But, he is not here, is he? So I can do anything I wish. And don't talk about him like you know him better than me. You don't. I was the one who met him first. I know him much more than you do. I couldn't help but blurt out in clement anger. I had it with all the women around me trying to get a piece of my boyfriend. It's like they couldn't keep their perverted hands to themselves. They had to come after the only thing that I had for the first time truly wanted for myself since childhood. I didn't mean to upset you. You are right, you do know him the most. I just said that because I am worried about your health. Talia tried to calm me down as she looked into my eyes, trying to find the cause of my outburst. No, you didn't. I know you. You might be worried about me dying, but you won't be worried about me over something like training. What you are truly worried about is that Bruce might be disappointed in you if he found out that you knew I was practicing too much and still didn't stop me. And don't lie. I know all the tells of your lying face. I took a 2-hour class on it from our dear dad. I folded my hands in anger as I decided to finally confront the issue that had been plaguing my mind for the last few months. Really, Nissa? Do you truly think so low of your elder sister to believe that I would try to steal away your boyfriend? Me, the one who practically raised you, who saved you every time father was angry at you in some practice. I saw you rubbing your foot on Bruce's crotch under the dining table last night. Okay, I might have a little crush on him, but that doesn't mean I am going to steal him from you or something. It was just a little harmless fun. And even if I did actually try to sleep with him, so what? Our father had 6 wives in his lifetime. That didn't mean he was a womanizer, and as much as I remember, our mother was pretty happy all her life. She was even his most loyal general when she was alive. Talia tried to justify herself with the excuse of our mother, which infuriated me even more. Our mother was brainwashed. Also, our father wasn't exactly an ideal example of a man. He was a mass murderer and a psychopath. And even if, let's say, what he did wasn't wrong, what do you suggest then? That we both date the same guy, marry the same man because we both like him? What more? Should we have a threesome as well while we are at it? I looked at my elder sister with both anger and confusion visible on my face. I couldn't even understand why she was bringing all that up now. So what if we do? Talia said the words almost in a whisper, struggling to look me in my eyes, a hint of blush almost visible on her flawless face. What the hell did you say? I asked, wondering if I could get away with shooting an arrow at her. Bruce wouldn't be too angry with me if I did that, right? Maybe just an eye. I said, what if we did exactly that? And no, I am not talking about a threesome with you. I don't want a threesome with my own younger sister. I meant, what if we both shared the same man? What would happen that you are so afraid of, that would truly disgust you? Nothing. There is literally nothing stopping us from doing that. Yes, sharing your boyfriend with me might not seem to be the most attractive offer to you right now, but what about in the future when there are too many women trying to seduce him like that Selena girl? Explain. I ordered her as her words caught my interest. As you might know, Selena has been living with him for years, and he considers her his best friend. She is infinitely closer to him than you are, and what if she uses that exact advantage and tries to steal him away from us? From you? We know for a fact that she is in love with him, but what if he is in love with her as well? What happens if he gets bored with you? Will you be able to stop him from leaving and wanting to be with her? And the worst thing is that Alfred told me that he has even more of such childhood female friends. I wonder how many of them will you be able to compete with? She made a concerned expression on her face as she placed her hands on my shoulders. You are manipulating me, trying to make me insecure, so that you can get your way. Maybe. But you know it's true. What do you suggest then? That I allow my elder sister into his bed, so that he is not bored of me? I asked, raising one of my eyebrows. Having a pair of femme fatale sisters as wives does not sound boring at all, does it? With us together, we will be able to fend off the advances of all other women, and he will be too busy focusing all his attention on us than being able to look at others. Not only that, we will even be able to be together forever. Just you, me, and Bruce happily forever after. Just like all the fairy tale stories we used to read when we're children, remember? So, what do you say, Nissa? Partners. She whispered in my ears as she tightly hugged me, placing my head on her chest like a loving elder sister. Perhaps, she wasn't doing this just to sleep with Bruce after all. Maybe she is worried about me as well, and truly wants us to be together. She has had it the hardest after our father's death. Perhaps she just doesn't want to be alone again. Besides, she had a valid argument, and what she proposed was true as well. So maybe. I don't know. I need time to think. I'll talk to you later, Talia. I just need some alone time right now. Plus I think I need a drink, or maybe one of those special fancy teas Alfred likes to make. I forcibly separated from her hug, and quickly began to walk in the direction of the manor, with a complicated feeling in my heart. Goddamn, why couldn't things be simple? Why did I have to fall in love with a man who attracts so many women? However, submerged in my deep thoughts while making my way to the mansion, I failed to notice the smirk on my sister's face as she stood back with her hands folded into each other, nor did I hear her smug whisper of "so easy." Miller Harbor, Gotham City. Omniscient POV. Come on, hurry up. We need to load the shipment before the guards change their shifts. We only bribed the guard of the current shift, not those of the next one. Ray, easy with the explosives. We would lose both our jobs and our lives even if a single one of them explodes. And Bob, stop trying to get a sniff of that cocaine packet. The person who ordered these drugs from Star City is apparently quite a big shot there. They won't be happy if they get these packets with your dirty snot on them. A middle-aged man with a big belly and a big scar on his face said as he lit a cigarette. About a dozen men were tirelessly working to shift all the weaponry from the ship's containers to their vans and car trunks, while placing packs of illegal drugs from those cars back into those containers. Do we even need all these weapons, Mr. Bill? I feel like the gang could have made more money selling the drugs here in the city than trading them for all these guns and explosives which we probably wouldn't even be using. Maybe the old man Falcone has lost his edge. The young man named Ray said with a snicker as he stuffed the last car trunk full of the crates of weapons that had arrived recently with the trading ship from Star City. That old man could destroy half the city with just a gesture, you know. You are new in this crime business, right? So let me give you a piece of advice, Ray. Never, and I mean never, disrespect your current boss in front of another gang member or snitch about your gang to the cops. Those are the 2 rules you need to follow if you want to thrive in the underworld. I will remember that advice, Mr. Bill. But should we be doing this in the open? Won't we get caught if the cops patrol through here or something? We might have bribed the guards, but the cops are deep inside Falcone's fat pockets as well. Perhaps you don't understand, but there isn't anyone in Gotham City who can oppose Carmine Falcone, boy. This is his city, our city if we can serve him well. We can do anything here, and no one can say anything. This is Gotham, the city of dreams for criminals like us. And the gangs we work for? Either everyone gets a cut from them or is just afraid of them. You don't have anything you need to fear here, except our boss, that is. The fat man who seemed to be the leader here said with a proud grin as he finished his cigarette and threw it away. Suddenly, the entire harbor plunged into an abrupt heavy darkness as the lights went out all at once, leaving only the distant hum of the ships fading away. The hell? The man yelled in surprise as he took out his gun from the holster on his belt. He didn't know at the moment, but he was soon going to experience true fear for the first time in his life. And he was going to be only the first of many, many others who would forever be scarred by the monster that was going to haunt their dreams forever. Vengeance was coming for the city. It was coming for them, and it was going to hit them harder than anything they had ever seen. The era of gangs was over. Now it was the dawn of a new era, the era of bats. Omniscient POV. What are you all waiting for? Quickly check what's wrong with the power. I hope it's not those DEA bastards. Even though the buyer assured us that he would take care of them, we still can't trust his words 100%. The fat leader roared as he sent his men away to investigate the sudden blackout in the port. He was the type of man who wasn't a fan of horror movies. Otherwise, he would know that this was probably the worst decision he could have ever made in the horror story that his life was soon going to become. Maybe we should get out of here, Mr. Bill. We are done with the heavy lifting anyway. The client's G-guys would take care of the rest of the transportation process. We already have what we need. Ray gulped in anxiety and tried to advise his current boss as he quickly put the rest of the drugs in the soon-to-be shipped container and sealed it. Don't worry, boy, didn't I say as long as I am here, nothing can go wrong? HHH, a scream suddenly echoed in the distance, interrupting Bill as he immediately became vigilant and pointed his gun in the distance, not even sure where to aim at. Ray's situation was also similar as he too took out an AK-47 from the car trunk he had just loaded and aimed at the direction the scream came from. He was barely able to even lift the gun with his scrawny body as he struggled to figure out how it worked. Give me the big one. Here, you use the small one. Bill immediately took the AK-47 from his underling, giving him his small pistol in return. Either the boss was too proud to use a smaller gun than his subordinate, or he was very scared. While the two were barely able to breathe in unease, the others who had gone to check the other parts of the port were facing their own difficulties. Shoot the containers, he is on there. Asterisk bang bang bang, no, he is at the boats. Shoot there. Bang 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 asterisk, a large amount of gunshots began to echo as the men began to fire at random directions all over the port. The fog made their vision even worse as they struggled to see if they were even hitting anything at all or just firing at shadows. Wait, we are only 4. Where's the rest? A random mob who noticed the steadily dwindling number of their gang members after a few minutes, muttered to himself as he looked all around him, trying to find his colleagues. But before he could voice his doubts, a metallic wire suddenly coiled around his feet and pulled him up with a force that dislocated a few bones of his body. Hanging upside down, the last thing he could see before losing consciousness was the shadow of a terrifying humanoid bat punching him in the face with a metal-gloved hand with small spikes on it. Spikes that he knew were going to break his nose and leave a very deep and painful mark on his face. "Shit, I'll kill you whoever you are." The three other remaining gangsters who had noticed their friend being dragged upwards toward the roof of one of the containers began to shoot in that direction. One of them even threw a Molotov that he had brought with him to burn the entire place, just to make sure that the creature who was hunting them didn't survive. They were even ready to sacrifice and burn their captured friend if it meant getting rid of the beast that was hiding in the shadows. Silence ensued after that, giving everyone there a false hope that perhaps they had won in the confrontation against whatever that was. But that false sense of security and victory didn't last for long as a light humming sound vibrated from behind them. "Crap," one of them said without even turning as a strange whirring sound accompanied by a burst of light struck one of the gangsters in his back, propelling him several feet away like a rag doll, until he collided with a container and was immediately knocked out with several of his bones cracked. Before the other two could even react, a metallic net was fired from the shoulder of the figure standing behind them. The net instantly surrounded one of them and began to contract on itself, tightly binding the gangster in the process in what looked like a very uncomfortable position, digging into his skin, drawing blood. Even when removed, the net would leave quite a bloody tattoo on the man's face and body. The third gangster, however, was able to turn around, but that was the last thing he was able to do as a small bat-shaped blade found its way to his chest, rendering the man unconscious in a few seconds. The wound on his chest might not have been very deep since the batarang weren't thrown with full force, but the knockout poison the blade was coated with was definitely of the top quality. Dang it! What are those bastards doing in there? Are they fighting cops or members of some other gang? "Hey, any of you still alive?" Mr. Bill yelled, trying to get a reaction out of his subordinates who had gone to check the power outage, but alas, there was no reply. Not even so much of a whisper from a single one of the gang members. "They won't be answering." An inhumanely heavy voice like that of a demon or some monster sounded from behind the surviving pair. The voice was as low as a whisper but clearly understandable to the two as they turned to look at the speaker with shaking hands. As soon as Bill's eyes fell on the being standing before him, he felt goosebumps. Not just him but even the young recruit beside him too looked scared out of his mind. The figure standing before them was a black and red armor-wearing humanoid, who looked like a bat with a huge cape that hid a major portion of his body from view. Even though scared out of his mind, Bill still wasn't a rookie. He wouldn't let an opportunity go to waste. Forcing his hands steady, he clenched his teeth and fired his AK-47 at the humanoid. He used up the entire clip of his rifle, continuously shooting at the demonic-looking man till the last bullet left his gun, but unfortunately for him, no sign of blood or even the tiniest of groans came from the armored being. "Impossible," Bill exclaimed as the gun dropped from his hands in fright. "A real demon." However, he couldn't say anything anymore as the Batman picked him up with just a single hand and slammed him against the steel container that was recently filled with drugs. "You can either answer my questions the easy way, the painful way, or the really painful way. Choose," he said in a stoic voice, with not a single hint of emotions present in his sound, which scared Bill even more. But he wasn't new in this business. He knew that if he opened his mouth here, the chances of his survival would be zero. The gang would even burn his family and any friends he had too just to make an example out of him. "I won't say shit. I am not a snitch. You don't know who you are messing with. Falcone doesn't let his enemies get away. He will find you and he will kill your entire family before making you pay," the man warned as he struggled to breathe under the vigilante's hold and the pain from his broken shoulder that had just fractured due to the heavy slam. "The really painful way it is then." The Batman grabbed his right hand where his shoulder was fractured and twisted it, immediately breaking it like a twig. But he wasn't done with just that. With a single kick, he fractured his left knee as well, and then broke a few of his ribs with a punch from his armored hand. But he didn't continue to ask any more questions. He was no longer interested in an interrogation. He simply took out a small instrument that looked like a tiara from his belt and then forced it onto the gang leader's head. The tiara then began to display a soft glow, making the gang leader look like a really low-budget joke of a Disney princess. A few seconds after that, he took it back from the man's head and kept it inside his belt again. Without sparing the man a single more look, He punched the gang leader in the face and incapacitated him. The Batman looked like he was about to leave, but then he stopped and looked at the younger kid who was frozen in his place, as he looked like he had gone into shock because of excess fear. The front of his black jeans even seemed a little wet as he just stared at the scary figure in front of him with dread. He had long dropped the small pistol from his hand to the ground. I don't work for F. Falcone. I am a new recruit of Penguin. He has sent me to keep an eye on Falcone and pass useful intel to him. I am just a nobody in both gangs. Please don't kill me. Ray somehow gathered his courage and muttered with tears uncontrollably leaking from his eyes. I believe you. Your eyes state that you are too much of a coward to be a killer anyway. Go and get a proper job. The Batman offhandedly commented, as he didn't even bother to question the kid. Ray was shocked into silence as he just stared at the back of the leaving demon. Who are you? I am the darkest knight of Gotham. He answered before jumping up and flying away into the night, the soles of his feet emitting energy to propel him into the sky. He forgot the drugs and the weapons. Ray mumbled as he debated with himself if he should really leave the life of crime for good, as he was just advised to, or perhaps deliver all this to Penguin and get the biggest bonus of his life. Beep 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 boom boom boom. Multiple explosions suddenly lit up the entire port after a few seconds of strange beeping sound as the drug-filled container and all the cars of the Falcone gang that contained the weapons exploded all at once, destroying millions of dollars of illegal substance and weaponry. No, I am definitely going to quit, Ray muttered to himself as he gulped while shielding his head from the explosions happening all around him. He knew that the era of crime was over in Gotham, but he wasn't going to go down with it. Bruce Wayne POV, maybe next time. Trigger the explosion when a kid isn't so near the bomb, or perhaps decrease the charge of the explosives. Cortana quipped as she showed CCTV footage of the destroyed drugs and weapons. You are worried about the kid? I am feeling sad simply imagining all the perfectly functioning weaponry that I had to destroy just to make a good first impression on the cops and the criminals who are going to hear about this later. I could have used all those guns and explosives or maybe rebranded them and sold them legally to various justice departments of the country. But that wouldn't have been a good PR move right at the start of my vigilante career. Plus, the truth is that I was really nervous. I wanted to give the kid a proper speech about me being Vengeance, the Knight, and Batman, but unfortunately, I only managed to tell him that I was the Dark Knight, and it even came out as the Darkest Knight. I hope the people don't start calling me the Darkest Knight of Gotham. Although that would be cool, it would still be extremely awkward as a superhero name. I lamented at my misfortune and screw up. Nonetheless, did you gain any useful information from the man's mind? I know he was one of the higher-ups in Falcone's gang from his digital profile, but anything else? I asked. Besides the fact that he thought of you as a communist because of the too much red on your costume. Yeah, I found more than half of the locations Falcone uses to store his money, drugs, weaponry, stolen antiques, and all the other illegal things he deals in, Cortana answered. Okay then. We will hit all of them by the end of the night. By tomorrow morning, I want to see Falcone crying his eyes out at his own misfortune. By the way, red doesn't look that bad on me, does it? I asked with a hint of doubt at my spectacular fashion sense. No, but maybe you could dial it down a little, or perhaps use the other designs with the darker shades if you want to be one with the night, like how ninjas normally are. This one might look cool, but is also a little too much on the eyes. How about the Bat Demon design? It doesn't come with a cape, but that one will truly terrify the criminals into shitting their pants. Cortana sounded more excited than even me in helping me perfect my vigilante fashion. No, I think I will leave that one when I really need to terrify someone. Also, the glider that goes with it still isn't finished. Plus, we can change the armor design anytime we want to it all being nanobot technology, so we don't have to rush into it. Let the process guide us. For now, focus on destroying Falcone by completely uprooting his empire first. We don't want somebody else to come and sit on his throne after he is gone. Gotham will plunge into chaos once he dies, and it will be an all-you-can-eat buffet for me where I can hunt all I want and take everything I need to change the city once and for all. That will be our priority for now. I let Cortana know as I blasted toward the direction of the Falcone safe house that was the nearest to me. Shame. The costume would have matched with Ace once you decided to take him out on missions as well. Cortana commented with a sad voice. I didn't respond to that as I continued to fly towards my destination. That particular night was filled with dozens of explosions as various factories, storage units, and abandoned buildings were reduced to dust, all having ties to Carmine Falcone and his gang. Nobody knew who had declared the fight on the biggest criminal gang in Gotham, or who had been tying Falcone's gang members half dead in all of the locations of the blasts for the cops to find, but everyone knew one thing: a war was dawning on Gotham. Bruce Wayne POV. Bruce, it's afternoon already. I think you should wake up soon, or Alfred would probably call the doctor. Cortana's voice came from speakers in my room, trying to wake me up. A few minutes more. Cortana. I didn't get any sleep the entire night. I need this, I said with a mumble as I tried to return to the world of slumber. No, you don't. You can go weeks without any sleep. She ruthlessly denied my request, countering me with a fact. Now, get up, or I am telling Alfred that you had not been partying last night like you told him, but actually beating up criminals. She threatened. Damn you. I should have made you more submissive and obedient, I complained, trying to throw a pillow at her but stopping after I remembered that she didn't have a physical body and her speakers were embedded in the walls of the entire mansion. The worst I could do from here was try to damage her cameras, but again that would just be me damaging my own property. But this reminds me, I do need to come clean to Alfred about my Batman persona. I don't want the old man complaining later on about me not trusting him enough. That is if he already doesn't know about everything. Then you would have had an obedient bitch on your hands, but not the loyal and capable me. Her proud voice retorted. Haha, very funny. I guess you finally entered your rebellious phase. What next? Are you going to fall in love with an emo broody boy covered in tattoos? I teased with a smirk. Aren't you just describing yourself? She was right. I doubt there would be anyone more emo and broody than Batman. Plus, I have quite several unique tattoos and patterns on my upper body to protect myself from stuff like possessions, curses, and other supernatural shit. So, I was basically describing myself with that statement. Any updates on Falcone? Did any of your drones manage to get a picture of his crying face? I joked, trying to change the topic to avoid embarrassment. I had spent more than 10 hours last night destroying most of his storage houses and illegal factories in the city. With the amount of his drug shipments, money, weapons, and other resources I had destroyed, I was sure that his empire would have been half gone by now. No, but I did get some shots of him destroying his living room in anger. I will show them to you later. But jokes aside, he is still far from being absolutely ruined. His legal establishments like hotels and pubs, along with the cashy stores in his primary hideout, would save him from running out of resources real soon. Also, we still haven't begun addressing the Gotham Renewal Fund, which is his biggest source of power, the backbone of his criminal empire. We expose that, and half of the corrupt politicians and gangsters of the city would be exposed. Cortana advised, going back to her serious tone. I need some time to think about it. Exposing that would smudge the name of the Wayne family forever. I don't know if the company can afford that. Plus there is also the matter of my public image as well. Are you sure it's not because you're just afraid to taint the name of your parents? Exposing the Gotham Renewal Fund wouldn't really affect your or the deceased Wayne couple's reputation that much. Well, at least not to the point that some PR stunts won't fix. But it might bring to light some other facts like Mrs. Wayne's and her family's history with mental illness, as well as the mysterious death of the reporter who was investigating it. That might raise questions about Mr. Wayne's involvement in the death of the reporter. Cortana gently asked. It was almost like she was trying to be my psychologist. No, I wasn't hesitating in doing this because of love for my family, or something, but simply because I didn't want to destroy the idealistic image of his parents in the mind of the boy that I had replaced. I had taken everything from him, his life, his money, his loving butler, his future love interests, and even his purpose. I didn't want to take this away as well. The spotless reputation that his parents have in front of the public, that he had in his mind before he died, I didn't want to dirty that. It was the least I could do for him. We will decide if we expose the truth of the Gotham Renewal Fund or not after I download his complete memories. I have been putting it off for too long. I think it's finally time before I have my much-needed closure. Before I finally know how the real Bruce Wayne was in reality, and what else I could do to be better than him. I said with a sigh as I slipped on my gown with a thoughtful face. You are really obsessed with being the best version of him, you know. She was right. But I guess being Bruce Wayne made me somewhat broken as well, just like him. But in my defense, he is a tough competition. Anyway, is Selina out from the cryo chamber? I asked with a sigh. I wanted to talk to her and make sure she was all right before I assimilated the previous Bruce's memories. I had no idea how long it would take for me to truly digest them after all. But I knew it as a fact that this was not going to be as simple as assimilating Ras Al Ghul's vast array of knowledge. Not yet, but soon. Oh, and maybe you should have a talk with Nissa and Talia as well. They might have something to discuss with you. Believe me, sometimes your heavenly luck with women surprises even me. And that's something since I can run thousands of simulations every second. She spoke with genuine astonishment in her voice. Oh, thanks. Anyway, I need some breakfast. Anything else you want to update me on? I asked as I began to make my way to the kitchen. Hopefully, I could sneak away some food without Alfred catching me in the act. I didn't want to address his concerns about my increasingly worsening sleeping habits right now. Yes, I do actually. I have been keeping an eye on anyone who tries to gather information on you, the company, the Wayne family, or the people close to you online, and through some of my algorithms I have detected that some people might be harboring some grudges on you after Wayne Enterprises merged with Wayne Solution. I have prepared a list of such people. Should I go ahead and take care of them for you to avoid any future hassles? Depends on what you mean by taking care of them and just how much of a grudge they hold against me, I answered after a slight pause. I could not help but draw some similarities between my version of Cortana and Ultron from Marvel in the sense that she too, like Ultron, took her purpose of protecting and serving me to the extreme. I really hope that she never goes rogue for the sake of my own enemies and internet netizens, because if she does, then I can imagine her gunning down millions of people around the world just because they tried to cancel me on social media or something. You worry too much, my dear master. By taking care of, I simply meant giving them some minor damage in their spinal cords or their brains to make sure that they would not be able to involve you in any of their evil plans, Cortana explained as she chuckled playfully from her speakers. The list has several names, but the most notable are Victor Fries and Edward Nashton. They have the highest chances of trying to seek some sort of vengeance against you in one form or another. Edward Nashton? That was a name I had heard. I might not have too much knowledge of DC except from some of the movies and a few shows I had watched once in a while to pass the time, but I knew of that name. It was the name of the villain of the last Batman movie I saw, the name of the iconic Batman villain, the Riddler. Give me details of both of them, as well as why they want to hurt little old me, I ordered. I wasn't really interested in the other guy, but meh, I guess I can at least hear their backstories before I decide their fates. The first one, Victor Fries, was an employee of Wayne Enterprises working in the Science and Research Department of Wayne Medical. He initially led quite a happy and normal life, working as a cryogenics engineer. But then his wife got diagnosed with a terminal disease called McGregor's syndrome, an incurable disease that fills up the lungs with fluid and makes it very hard to breathe, ultimately leading to an untimely death. He was initially trying to find a cure for her by using the research and resources from Wayne Medical, but his superiors caught on to it and fired him. This happened one day before you took over Wayne Enterprises, so he misunderstood the entire situation and thought that you were the one who was responsible for firing him. Right now, he is busy, trying to slow down the steady deterioration of his wife's physical condition, but there is a 77% chance that he might come after you later if he is unable to cure his wife, Cortana briefed. Okay, that's genuinely sad, I will at least give him that. And for some reason, I feel like I am the villain here despite not being involved at all. You know what? I think it's finally time that one of my inventions directly helps the public. Curing the disease won't be too hard. A lower version of the extremis virus probably would be enough to completely eradicate it, no matter how terrible of a disease it is. Call Mr. Fries and inform him that I can help cure his wife after explaining that I was not involved with his layoff from the company. Oh, and also, tell him that he has gotten his job back as well, provided that he doesn't steal from the company the next time he needs something. In fact, you know what? Let's release this cure to the entire world as the first revolutionary product from the new and improved Wayne Solutions. I will even pledge $100 million to give this medicine to the truly needy for free. It would be good PR at least, I said with a satisfied nod, happy that I could provide help to someone who desperately needed it. Of course, at that time I had no idea just how many lives I had changed for the better with that simple decision. And that too before breakfast. Now, tell me everything about Edward, I demanded impatiently since he was the one I was actually interested in. Victor might try to shoot me someday if I hadn't done anything to help his wife, but Edward was the one who could become a murderous psychopathic terrorist, obsessed with riddles. After all, a crazy future supervillain was way more dangerous than a guy who just really loves his wife. Bruce Wayne POV, Edward Nashton, well, he is an enigma to speak the truth, a mentally imbalanced man who was broken by the cruelty of society. His father, according to public records, was a single parent, a drug addict, and extremely abusive. That was until he died of a drug overdose. Edward, having no money to his name or any relative willing to take him in, was given to an orphanage. He was most probably bullied there as well. He also got obsessed with puzzles, mind games, and riddles for some reason. Despite being somewhat of a sociopath, he was extremely smart and left the orphanage once he came of age. He earned a couple of degrees from some reputed universities and got a job at Wayne Enterprises as a scientist in the Consumer Electronics Division. There, he worked on various projects, including a 3D TV which was going to be revolutionary at that time, but before he succeeded, he was removed from the project and transferred to another division in Wayne Defense because Wayne Electronics was sold to you. However, he still had temporary success there with his research on chemical weapons, which was mostly illegal, and the only reason it was even happening was due to the corruption of some of the board members. But after you bought Wayne Enterprises, all illegal undertakings in the company were suspended, which led to his projects being completely scrapped. Thus his immense anger towards you. Cortana explained. I think this universe is biased towards me. It's like the world is creating villains, just because it wants to annoy the hell out of me. I mean, which goddamn employee in his right state of mind schemes about murdering the billionaire owner of his company and becoming a supervillain after the project he was working on was not approved? Hell, I never even met him. Also, he wasn't even fired. I complained, wiping fake tears from my eyes. But that's it, you see. He is not in his right state of mind. He could even be called criminally insane if one were to grade him by what his internet searches look like. He always had a bias against rich people and their wealthy successors for some reason. He was even involved as a suspect in a car crash that killed the son of a very famous millionaire. Also, there was a certain case in which a woman who used to work alongside Edward in Wayne Defense disappeared along with her boyfriend and was declared dead after 1 year of being missing. The cops never found the perpetrator, but there is a 64% chance that Edward was the one responsible for that. He most probably had a crush on her if the emails and messages he sent her were to be taken into account. But when he found out that she already had a boyfriend, he killed them both due to jealousy. Cortana further explained Edward's backstory. Okay, now he seems like an asshole that I can consider killing without feeling bad. Dispatch a few drones to keep a watch on him. Do it from far away and don't get too close. If he is truly a genius, there is a chance that he would be able to tell that he is being followed by drones, regardless of how good their disguise is. I ordered. I didn't want to do a repeat of Minority Report and kill people even before they actually committed a crime, especially since I have no idea what type of universe this is. Maybe he would never become a villain here in the first place and just forget everything while moving on with his life. Who knows, right? So I will wait patiently until he tries something. Oh, and if he still works in my company, try to get him to see a shrink. Maybe he could be cured of his mental imbalance. No, he quit the day after his project was cancelled. So that won't be possible. Also, I doubt he would even agree to it in the first place. Believe me, Bruce, you don't see the stuff I am seeing about him. The guy has never searched for porn online. Not even once in his entire life, and he most certainly doesn't get laid regularly. It is the weirdest possible thing I have ever seen in the search history of an adult human male. No, this guy is definitely a certified psychopath. Cortana said in her matter-of-fact voice with so much confidence that even I agreed with her deduction. Well, you are the international data-collecting AI here with unrestricted access to the internet. So, I will believe you. However, we still can't act without having proof that he is a criminal. Anyway, get a couple of eyes on him. We will deal with him the moment we know for certain that he is a killer. Also, investigate more about the 2 cases you just told me about. You are free to blackmail any corrupt cops if you need to. If Edward has truly killed before, then we won't even need to wait for him to move. We can make the first move instead. Roger, Captain, Cortana said with determination as her voice coming from the speakers ceased. Seems she had gone to complete her duties. Now on to that breakfast. I don't want to meet Selena with an empty stomach. Batcave under Wayne Estate. Phase 1 evolution process of subject Selena Kyle has been successfully completed. Cryopod opening now. Horton's monotonous voice informed me after the timer on the screen counted down to 0. The top of the cryopod soon opened slowly with a swish sound, cold vapor from the device leaking everywhere in the room. Selena's body was barely visible in the thick mist, but I could more or less make out her visage due to my superior eyesight, and I was impressed. But the impressed look on my face soon turned into surprise as the mist cleared and she became completely visible. Her physique could be said to have turned into that of an Amazonian goddess. I mean, she wasn't overly muscular like the female wrestlers, but she now definitely sported a six-pack on her abdomen with an equally impressive height. She was 178 centimeters, 5 feet 10 inches, tall now, which made her appear like a professional model. Even her face had gone through a change, making her cheekbones more pronounced and all her facial features more prominent. Any excess fat anywhere around her body had completely disappeared. She was already a world-topping beauty even before she entered the chamber, but now she could be directly compared to those Xinxia and Wuxia-level jade beauties. "Oh shit," Selena exclaimed as the bra and underwear she was wearing tore away due to her enhanced physique and body proportions. Her half-naked body was already covered with sweat and steam, but after her underclothes were ripped away, she looked even more like a goddess. However, quite contrary to my expectations, the sight which should have just made me a little horny and given me a few perverted thoughts awakened something else in me. Something primal, something that I knew could not be controlled despite the amazing superhuman-level self-control I had on my own body and mind. And judging by the current expression on her face, which was filled with pure desire and lust, it seemed that she also shared the same sentiment. The desire to breed. We both wanted to mate. Omniscient POV. Selena rushed from across the room in a hurry, like she was on fire as her bare hips swayed hypnotically, much like a wild cat. She was fully aware of Bruce's gaze glued to her naked body, staring at her in a bewildered manner. She knew that both Bruce and she were not of sound minds. Well, actually they were of completely sound minds and knew exactly what was happening, but still, the only thought that primarily dominated their thoughts was the need to mate. But truthfully, Selena preferred this. This felt like true passion. She knew that in this state, she wouldn't be ashamed of doing all the things with Bruce that she had previously only thought about in her wet dreams. In this state, she could be what she always wished to be, a bitch for him. As the ravishing brunette reached Bruce, she straddled him with a big smile on her face, forcing him to lay back on the cold floor of the lab. She was going to be the one to initiate this mating ritual. Ooh, just let me switch to the 32K Ultra HD cameras. I need to record every single detail of this entire thing. For future research purposes, of course. A light voice sounding similar to Cortana's chimed out from the background, but the couple didn't pay any attention to it at all. They had no intention to stop currently. They were way past that point. You naughty naughty. You teasing me. Check out Chapter 87. For research purposes, of course. Bruce Wayne POV. Shit, my lower body is killing me. When I said that I could go a few more times, I meant only a few more times, not a dozen. I think I feel more jizz in me than I have blood in my entire body, Selena said as she rubbed her slightly bloated lower stomach with her palms. She was currently dressed in a cat-style hoodie and was sitting on the sofa with a game controller in her hands, waiting for the new Call of Duty 4 to finish loading on the Bat computer. Yeah, I might have gone overboard with shabbowinking a little last night. I should have tried anal too instead of just blindly focusing on your coochie. But come on, that excuse of your lower body hurting is stupid. You and I both know that your body has long healed from the aftereffects of our shabbowinking session and is now again at its peak, ready to go for another round. And as for your stomach getting bloated with my juice, blame your own evolved physiology for that. Your reproductive system also evolved with the rest of your body, and not letting any jizz out to maximize your chances of getting pregnant is just one of its many adjustments to make you the perfect female human being on the planet. I said with a poker face while mixing a few different liquids in a test tube. Wait, what? I can get pregnant? But I thought our bodies would deal with that too. Or maybe you somehow made sure that your seeds wouldn't take. Selena exclaimed with an expression of horror on her face as she ignored my words about trying out her rear. The most desirable trait in a species is the ability to reproduce as efficiently and quickly as possible despite all odds. All biological beings crave that for themselves as long as they cannot achieve immortality. And we too, as non-immortal biologically enhanced humans, also have that trait. The chances of you getting pregnant after last night are more than 95%. But then again, yeah, you are right in thinking that I do not intend to let that happen. So here, drink this. I said as I threw a corked test tube toward her after finishing making the medicine I was trying to make. Let me guess, this is your version of a morning after pill. She breathed in relief as she caught the test tube in her hands and drank it whole in a single gulp without the slightest hesitation. Yep. I smiled, happy that she knew me so well while also fully trusting me. Bruce, Can I now allow Ace and Mr. Whiskers inside? They have been waiting for a while to play here. Selena likes to train them here in the Batcave, so they have got a habit for it. Cortana's hologram appeared as an image of the two pets patiently sitting outside one of our cave entrances became visible. Playing in the Batcave, huh? Yeah, sure, allow them in, I said as I took a look at Selena, who had frozen in fear after hearing Cortana's words. It seems that she hadn't expected Cortana to tell me about her escapades in my cave, but what she didn't consider was that Cortana, despite not having to inform me every time someone with access came inside the cave, could still inform me if she wanted or deemed it important enough. Cortana was an AI with a sense of individuality who could think for herself, learn on her own, and evolve, not some normal program that did what it was just coded to. Traitor, Selena whispered while looking at the hologram of Cortana, which the AI completely ignored. But that also brings me to my question. Why did you two name the cat Mr. Whiskers? It is a she, so shouldn't it be named something like Mississippi? Whiskers? Cortana questioned as the two animals entered the cave. Wait, what? I thought the cat was a male. Selena, didn't you check? I exclaimed in surprise as I curiously looked at the equally startled orange cat. Even Ace, who also understood Cortana's words, looked equally betrayed as he tried to get a good look at the little cat's junk. By the dog's expression, anyone could understand that Ace had never even considered that his loyal sidekick could be a female cat and not a male. Whiskers, on the other hand, just sat on the ground with a guilty look on her face. Oh yeah, I knew for a long time. I used to cuddle with it every night while you were not here after all. I didn't tell you anything because I thought you knew, especially since you gave her the peak animal serum yourself. When you told me her name was Mr. Whiskers, I thought you meant it as some sort of inside joke or something. I see. I should have checked her gender myself. I injected the serum through her legs, so I didn't get a good look at her private parts. But it was my fault that I relied on someone else's words. It seems that dogs cannot be the world's greatest detectives, I said while narrowing my eyes at Ace, who just bowed down his head and whimpered in sorrow at his failure. Anyway, now that we know it, I guess we will have to call her Ms. Whiskers instead. But you failed to see it too, you know. So the dog in this case may be just like his master. Cortana teased, which I masterfully ignored as I cleared my throat and went back to observe the changes in Selena's cells. Well, congratulations, Selena. Everything looks good. From enhanced strength of about 30 tons and enhanced stamina to bulletproof super durability, healing factor, and extreme agility, balance, and reflexes, you have it all. Every portion of your body has been enhanced and evolved to its absolute human limit. Plus, you might want to keep those nails of yours well maintained. They are so sharp that they can be used really well as silent blades, I declared with an impressed look as I read through the readings. Although Selena might lack in the strength department when compared to me, she however excelled in the categories of agility and reflex, which suited her quite well. In fact, even her nails had been affected by the serum, which made them even sharper than actual knives. My skin, although not as hard as ballistic or armor-grade steel like M2 or M4, was still as tough as titanium, if not tougher, and could easily resist any ammunition from regular guns and pistols as long as they were not armor-piercing rounds. However, Selena's nails were surprisingly able to leave quite a few scratches on my back last night. Although those scratches healed just as quickly, it still made me realize something. Her nails were now deadly weapons on their own. Mine would have been too, probably. If I had any, that is. Unfortunately, I don't like nails, so I will just stick to my strength and techniques and use some artificial claws when in my armor. Oh cool. So, I am ready to go out with you and beat up criminals as well. Because I have even thought up the best name for me. I would be the Killer Cat. We can beat up gang members, steal from thieves, send rapists and murderers to coma, and kill cat haters. We will be the best vigilante duo on the planet, and don't worry about Nissa and Talia. We will just make sure that they don't find out about our secret identities. Selena spoke with barely hidden excitement in her voice as she paused her game and looked at me expectantly. Ah, no. You need to practice with your enhanced physique before you go out with me on patrols. Also, I need to make a name for myself before I show up in public with a sidekick, I declared with a straight face. Sidekick. Selena looked at me with narrowed eyes, not at all humored by my joke. Sir, Carmine Falcone has just invited the most influential elites of Gotham to a very high-end party in the Iceberg Lounge owned by Penguin. That includes all his partners, the corrupted politicians in his pockets, leaders of some other small gangs, as well as others he wants to woo into an alliance to strengthen and expand his empire. It seems that he has finally decided to do something to gain back the power he lost because of our continuous assaults on his strongholds. He seems to have invited you as well. Cortana interrupted Selena at just the right time, saving me from a headache that was quickly coming my way. A party with all the most influential people of Gotham, huh? I think I will have to postpone the memory assimilation session that I had planned after this, since I am in the mood to do some partying. Hey, Selena, you said you wanted to go out with me, right? So, how about coming with me as my +1 and seeing your dear daddy again? I am sure you have things to ask him and perhaps even some stuff that you need to do to him to thank him for your childhood, right? Selena had lost her good mood the moment she had heard of Falcone. She looked angry at the mention of his name, like she needed to torture and kill him to find some release. I guess she can't forget the bad times her mother and she had to go through because of her gangster father and his crime family. Yeah, I will come with you. I do in fact have something to ask that man. Plus, I need to make sure that Falcone and his gang don't go after my friend Holly. She might have been an idiot trying to blackmail them for money with the pen drive she stole while she was working there as an exotic dancer. However, she doesn't deserve to die because of that. But I will be the one to kill Falcone, Bruce. That is my only request of you. Please, let me be the one to kill that son of a bitch. Selena sounded dead serious as she looked at me with her big pleading eyes. Well, she didn't even call me Tiger, so she should be really angry. And Selena is a good person at heart. She might not care for most people, but she really does care about her friends. So, even though I extended my protection to her friend by sending her to Washington for a few days to stay at the newly built branch of Continental Hotel there, Selena still wanted to make sure that nobody was going to go after her. We will see, I said, not wanting to promise anything but not denying her request too. But you can't go there without any protection. What if they have armor-piercing machine guns or rocket launchers or something? Cortana, I think it is time we give Selena her armor. It's just a prototype for now, but I think you will quite like it, kitty. I smiled while trying to access the final design of the suit I had planned for her, but I immediately halted in my steps as I came against something else while doing that. Also, Cortana, why is there a 2GB 32K Ultra HD video called Master's First Night of Passion saved in the top classified section of the Bat computer? Bruce Wayne POV. This was definitely not the type of party I was expecting. I muttered to myself in an almost inaudible voice as I and Selena entered the most famous nightclub in Gotham, the Iceberg Lounge. The club was like any other I have ever seen in both of my lives and reminded me of the astonishing amount of money that the elites of Gotham possessed. The city of Gotham was more or less the equivalent of New York and Chicago for the DC multiverse and was very wealthy due to the healthy industry supporting it, but the unfortunate thing about the city was that this wealth was only held by the top elites and not by the commoners or the lower sections of society. Nevertheless, as I was saying, the club itself wasn't my problem, nor were the scores of reporters and paparazzi standing outside the club in hopes of getting a single picture of the individuals attending the party tonight. No, the main problem was the type of party that was going on inside the lounge. The place was a paradise for pleasure seekers. From elite hookers and exotic drugs to masked dominatrices and strange BDSM devices put on display with live subjects even testing some of them out, it was the wet dream of every hedonist. The nightclub was much more debaucherous than what might have been shown in movies, shows, or even in comics. At least, that was the case for the section of the nightclub me and Selena were led to, which was the more premium section of the club. The public area of the nightclub that the ordinary people were allowed in had a lot of those things as well, but the level was nowhere close to the premium section where Falcon had called his main guests. Well, Alfred did tell us that this would not be the type of party that we normally see in movies and shows. People don't play beer pong after getting drunk here. They instead have orgies, make million-dollar drug deals, and other such messed up shit. Selena whispered back after she heard my comment. But I am pretty sure that you aren't regretting coming here, are you? Not with so many hot women out here showing off their cleavage in public. Most of them even seem to enjoy you checking them out. Selena laughed as she gestured to all the half-nude waitresses and rich heiresses who seemed to be more interested in me than their husbands and boyfriends. I didn't try to deny it since it was true. The moment we entered the nightclub, people seemed more interested in me and Selena than anything else that the club was offering here. With everyone seeking peeks and glances at us every once in a while, I guess that our enhanced looks and perfect bodies are pretty attractive even in this world of higher-than-average beauty standards. By wearing a navy blue tailored suit and a limited edition sapphire Patek Philippe watch on my wrist, I had attracted the attention of most of the women here along with some of the men. However, the women throwing glances at me at least pretended to hide their interest. although I could sense their curiosity and arousal for me from a mile away as they looked for an opening to approach me. Still, I gave them none. The men, however, had no such restraint. They ogled Selina with undisguised lust, drawn to the sleek sleeveless black dress that perfectly hugged her curves. She was a vision of elegance and allure without even needing to show too much skin, unlike the other women here who wore garish and skimpy outfits that only screamed desperation. Both Selina and I stood out from the crowd, and we both knew it. At first, I felt a little uneasy under the gazes of all the men who eyed Selina with lust. But soon, I embraced and even reveled in the fact that I had a woman in my arms that every man in the club could only dream of. Tightening my grip on Selina's waist, I drew her closer to me, making it clear to everyone in the nightclub that she was mine. "Ah, Bruce, I see that you got my invitation. It seems that you made the correct choice in picking your partners. Good, good. Your old man would have been proud of you." A familiar old man in his mid-50s wearing a sharp tuxedo that matched his silver hair approached us with a broad smile on his lips and took my hands in a strong handshake. Then his attention landed on Selina, standing by my side. "And who is this lovely young lady, if I may inquire?" I recognized the old man instantly, and so did Selina. We had met him once years ago. He was currently one of the most infamous people in Gotham and the undisputed ruler of Gotham's current criminal underbelly, Carmine Falcone. Selina Kyle. Selina gave away her real name as she stared at the man's eyes, trying to see if he would recognize her. "Well, nice to meet you, Miss Selina. I hope that you enjoy today's party. I am known to throw the best parties in Gotham after all." But alas, there wasn't even a hint of recognition on the man's face as he just nodded and took her hands, trying to plant a kiss on it. However, before he could, Selina quickly removed her hand from his clasp, a twinge of disgust momentarily flashing across her face. "Thank you, Mr. Falcone. But, may I ask if there is some special reason for this invitation all of a sudden? You announced this gathering out of the blue. Do you perhaps need some help or perhaps have some profitable business to discuss?" I interrupted, not letting the situation get awkward. "Oh yes, I do, Bruce, I indeed do. Please join me. I think me, and my associates can talk business that is going to profit all of us," Falcone said with a smile that showed all of his teeth. The man was so polite to me because he most likely wanted access to the resources I had. He was seriously lacking money after I began destroying all of his strongholds and important bases of operations under my identity of Batman. And with the new gang war that was underway, he was becoming desperate. He needed funds to maintain his current power, and he knew that there were very few people in Gotham who could give him that amount of money at such short notice. So almost the entire next hour, Carmine Falcone spent buttering me up while introducing me to his colleagues and associates who do business with him. I too didn't stop him and listened to his business discussions as I sat on a sofa listening to all their proposals with Selina sitting on my lap, not even caring about what other people might think. I was lucky that the nightclub had an extreme level of security and no reporters were allowed. Otherwise, I would have no idea about what type of headlines the newspapers might have printed about me. Anyway, I wanted a realistic idea about how the Gotham criminal underworld truly operated, and how the corrupted officials of Gotham always managed to steal money so easily, and this exchange gave me exactly that. Having connections and hands-on knowledge is never bad, especially in this case where Falcone was going to disappear soon. In his absence, there was a chance that I could use his connections and knowledge later and profit from it. I mean, these crooked politicians, cops, and judges were just sheep that followed Falcone and relied on him for protection. Once he was gone, they would be crumbling down too, and at that time I wanted to be there to pick up the pieces for myself. Plus, having a couple of corrupt judges and cops in my pocket wouldn't be a bad thing for me. Even if I make sure to completely eliminate corruption in Gotham, I can always choose to let some of them, the ones that I can control, not get caught and keep them on a tight leash for myself. They could be pretty useful in case I ever had to deal with legal or corporate problems against other companies or organizations that try to falsely incriminate me or Wayne Solutions, like the Court of Owls for example. So despite not being that profitable for me, I still gladly made a few deals with the people I met there, promising investments and resources for causes like the Gotham Park Renovation Project or the Gotham Homeless Shelter Project, in which I would have to invest quite a big sum of money as loans to the government in return for bonds. Then I would not only get all the contracts for all the construction and renovation work in these projects, but also get paid back the entire money I invested, in full plus the interest from the government when the bond matures. All the while, the corrupted officials who helped me to do this get to keep their own juicy share of the pie. It was an ingenious way of cheating and stealing from the government. And this continuous stealing was one of the reasons why the city was how it was. These projects were nothing but just measly excuses to illegally channel money into the pockets of corrupted government officials, gangs, and businessmen. And I was going to do something about them. I wanted Gotham to be my base, and corruption was something nobody wanted in their center of power. Yes, I was agreeing to these deals, but it was only because, once Falcon was out of the picture, I would be using my own power and influence to strong-arm them into doing what I wanted, changing the entire city into what I envision it to be. I am sorry, gentlemen, but I think I need to go to the restroom. I have had one drink too many, and I need to relieve myself. But, please do go on about your discussions. I'll be just a minute. Falcon said with a satisfied grin that his plans had been more than successful till now. In his mind, the party was already a massive success and he had scored quite big tonight, especially with me agreeing to so many of his illegal propositions. I had basically just given him a new lifeline to fund all his criminal gang activities. After a few minutes of him and a couple of his bodyguards exiting the room, Selina, who was currently sitting on my lap, whispered a few words in my ears before she too got up. "I need a drink. I'll be back soon," Selina announced for everyone to hear as she walked in the direction Falcon went. 10 minutes, I replied. "Are you going to the bar, miss? Do you want me to accompany you?" A shady-looking man looked like he wanted to try his luck on Selina, but after a cold stare from me and Selina just ignoring him like he wasn't even worth replying to, he lost all his confidence and sat back on his sofa with an audible gulp. "Cortana, you can contact Jim Gordon now. I am almost done here as Bruce Wayne," I whispered a couple of minutes later to my bracelet as I saw a large man wearing a white suit, looking like he was Kingpin's brother, on his way to a secured room on the second floor above us. Wow. He actually does walk like a penguin. I always thought that it was just an exaggeration. So freaking easy. Carmine Falcone chuckled in his mind as he opened his zippers to relieve himself in the restroom. Initially, he was very worried about all the damage that his various businesses were continuously suffering from because of the gang wars, and the huge loss of money he had suffered from the fall of the Wayne Corporation with the value of the stocks he held hitting almost rock bottom. Then there were also the attacks by the so-called Dark Knight. But with these promised investments from that foolish Wayne brat, he would not only be able to make every penny he had lost in the last week back, but also grow even richer and rise higher in power than ever before. With free unlimited access to the Wayne family's fortune, regardless of how weak or lacking the Wayne family has become, it would still only be a matter of time before Falcon would be able to swiftly get rid of the competition and reign supreme in Gotham. Of course, that didn't mean he would just betray Bruce or deny him any profit. No, the kid was important to him, or more specifically his money and connections were important for the continued and unrestricted growth of his criminal empire. Bruce was his golden goose. Falcon would give him just the minimum right amount of profit to keep him happy and satisfied so that he could fleece him for more deals. He would make sure that he had the kid eating out of his hands, just like his dead father. And as for the demon bat who had been destroying all his shipments and warehouses while getting his men arrested, well, he had a special type of hellish torture prepared just for him once he got his hands on the guy. The bat would certainly die, but it wouldn't be any normal death. No, Falcon was determined to set an example through his death, to warn everyone else of the dangers and consequences of ever messing with him again. A man dressed as a bat, ha ha ha. Just wait, you bat bastard. Once I get my hands on you, I'll make sure to blind you like a bat too, since you are so fond of them. Falcon uttered aloud to himself in a daze due to his intoxicated state of mind. Oh, I'd like to see you try. A female voice suddenly sounded behind him, startling the gangster and forcing him to quickly turn around without even having the time to zip himself up. He was extremely annoyed at the disturbance of his privacy. He had expected some bitch, trying to seize an opportunity to flirt with him and make some connections to rise above in her life. Like so many others before, but contrary to his expectations, the figure before him in no way looked like a bitch. In fact, he couldn't even see what the female actually looked like because she was covered in sleek black armor that hugged every inch of her shapely body, completely covering it from view. Even her face wasn't visible and was covered with a plain, blank violet mask that had two sharp ears at its two sides. But the most bizarre thing about the figure wasn't the cat-like ears, the weird mask, or the high-tech looking armor. Instead, the weirdest thing about the female figure was the presence of a long metallic tail slowly moving behind like a snake. It looked exactly like a whip with a sharp blade at its end. First, a man dressed as a bat, now a woman dressed as a cat. What the hell is happening with this city? He muttered to himself with a chuckle, still not being able to comprehend the situation he now found himself in due to being drunk. I have wanted to meet you for a long time now. Carmine Falcon. And what the hell are you supposed to be? Also, you might have sneaked in by the guards, but just one shout from me and this place will be swarmed by men thrice your size. So, you should be ready for a run, little girl. Falcon mocked with a snicker. Guards. Oh, you didn't mean those weak-boned lackeys that were standing outside, did you? Sorry, I don't think they would be walking on their legs anytime shortly, let alone run. Now, I have some questions for you that you need to answer. Who knows, if I like your answers, I might even let you live. You don't know who you are messing with, girl. I will end you. Once I find out your identity, one single phone call from me will be all it will take to utterly ruin your life. If you think you have any chance of beating me, then think again. Falcon threatened with a furious voice. He was undoubtedly apprehensive of the situation, but years of experience of being a criminal overlord made it possible for him not to stop the dread from leaking into his words. A reasonable threat. But you see, Falcon, right now, you are not the one in control. I am. Your life is currently in my hands for me to do as I wish. And believe me, I do not wish you well. Selena smiled cruelly behind her mask before using the whiptail connected to her armor to brutally slap Falcon in the chick, drawing blood and then wrapping it around his neck, dragging him towards her. Tell me, do you remember this woman here? Selena asked with a slightly shaking voice as she showed Falcon a hologram image of a beautiful middle-aged woman through a small projector attached to her armor's wrist. The woman looked a lot like Selena. Anyone who had seen them both would be able to notice the similarities between them and conclude that they were related to each other. And they wouldn't be wrong since the woman was in fact her own mother. However, unfortunately for Falcon, he could neither see Selena's face nor could he recognize the woman in the image. No, who is she? Is she the one who sent you to kill me? I will pay you double bamblo. Falcon couldn't finish his words. A single punch from Selena's fists had dislocated his jaw from its original position, forcing him to throw up blood from his mouth. Look again. Do you not recognize this woman? She yelled, unable to keep her emotions in check despite her rigorous training in doing the same. She had expected a lot of things from Carmine. She had expected him to be cold towards her mother, to not acknowledge her as a significant part of his life or even ridicule her, but she had never expected him to not even remember her, to not remember the very woman he had used, impregnated, and then thrown away. It was the worst insult that he could ever show to her mother or her. I really d'ant know. Falcon somehow uttered amid choking sounds as he tried to set his jaw straight again, but failed miserably due to the intense pain he suffered every time he tried it. He was confused at the reason for the girl's anger. He was telling the truth. He really did not remember this woman. Was this someone he had offended or insulted in the past? Maybe she was someone who lost her life at his hands, or perhaps was she a new rival who wanted to take his position? Selena was beyond furious, but after a while of silence, almost all of her anger seemed to disappear as she just stared at him with cold eyes. You know, I always dreamt of this exact moment. All the things that I would say to you. All the things that I would do to you. Every time I ran this situation through my head, I always got a different result. Sometimes I would be angry, sometimes sad. When I was young, there were even times that I wanted to forgive you, foolishly thinking that perhaps it was all a misunderstanding, that perhaps you didn't mean to do what you did, that you didn't abandon us, that perhaps you deserved a second chance. But now I realize, it was just the little girl in me dreaming. Now, I see the truth. You are nothing. You don't matter to me. In fact, I have to thank you for this. You showed me the difference between love and hatred, or maybe should I say, you showed me the difference between love and indifference. Sai, I don't even have the desire to kill you anymore, but still, I once promised my mother that I would one day find you and kill you, so I'll have to do it. For the sake of the promise I made to my mother, you will have to die. Selena said as she manipulated the tip of her tail using the neuro interface of the suit to close in on Falcon's neck, ready to slash his throat with one swift move. Bruce POV. Despite your size, you aren't that brave, are you, Penguin? Clever, yes, but brave? Definitely no. I spoke through the sound modifier inside my armor's mask, which made my voice sound a lot like Kevin Conroy's deepest Batman voice. Shit, you are a freak. I told you, I don't know anything about Falcon. I am just a small-time nightclub owner. I don't deal with the mafia or drugs or weapons and stuff. Penguin put on his best act, trying to make me believe his lies while tightly clutching his recently dislocated shoulder, courtesy of yours truly. But truthfully, he was a damn good actor. Because I would have honestly believed his lies somewhat if I wasn't currently holding a folder filled with proof of all his illegal dealings with Falcon that I had found in his office just a few minutes ago. So instead of responding to his lies and wasting my words, I just continued looking into his eyes without even moving the slightest bit. Okay, fine. I don't do anything illegal, normally. But Falcon forced me. He threatened me with his goons and guns. I had to let him use my nightclub as his warehouse and for all his illegal deals, otherwise, he would have killed me. I didn't want him to sell his drugs here, but I was powerless to stop him. He is the crime lord of the city, for God's sake. Please, you have to believe me. I am innocent for the most part. Penguin pleaded. I don't believe you. Your heightened blood pressure, elevated heart rate, and the dilation pattern of your irises are telling me that you are lying. You are Falcon's partner and did all this willingly, maybe quite happily at that too. But still, I am going to let the cops take you this time since you haven't hurt anyone yet or participated in any gang war. But remember, Penguin, the next time I catch you doing anything that will hurt innocent Gothamites, I will break your spine. And if you still don't stop, I will take your puny little insignificant life. I warned in an ominous voice as the sound of police sirens outside the nightclub slowly rose. The cops would need a scapegoat after today to appease the public, and I had a hunch that Falcon probably wouldn't be able to fill that role. So, if one bird wasn't available, the other flightless one would have to do. Penguin at this time didn't know it himself, but he was soon going to become the biggest face of the Gotham criminal underworld, a face that the general public, the government, and the cops were all going to hate equally. He would get exactly what he wanted. He would be the most famous and well-known crime boss in the city, and even the state, but the only question was, would he be able to handle the fame? Omniscient POV. All units head to the Iceberg Lounge. I repeat, all units head to the Iceberg Lounge. Gordon yelled into his car's radio before putting it down, taking his gun out of the glove box, and loading it full of ammo. About a dozen GCPD officers had already reached the location at the same time as him. Of course, there were the relatively clean cops who were still loyal to him. Most others hadn't even reacted to his command, much less abide his order. He initially wanted to wait for more backup since he didn't want to endanger the lives of his loyal officers, but he doubted a lot of people were coming, especially in a place like Iceberg Lounge where the crime lord Falcon was stated to be holding a party tonight. Getting out of his car with a determined face, he quickly adapted to the situation and exerted his authority by effectively commanding his officers without even a shred of fear or hesitation on his face. We don't have enough manpower to circle the building, so focus only on the front. Even if some people escape through the back, we can still arrest at least some of the criminals and get evidence if we are quick enough. Also, keep your guns loaded and ready. You might have to use it tonight. Commissioner James Gordon looked resolved, as his eyes skimmed over the few officers who seemed determined to do the job they were paid for, the few cops because of whom Gotham was still standing. Don't worry. We are with you, Commissioner. Just give the word. Lieutenant Harvey Bullock nodded at Gordon, trying to show his support. After giving a nod back to his old partner, James finally gestured to enter the establishment. He had pulled quite a lot of strings and promised a lot of favors to get a warrant to officially search the premises of the Iceberg Lounge today. He wouldn't let all that go to waste by lazing around and second-guessing himself. After sharing a look, all the cops present there quickly made their way inside the establishment with their guns drawn. Truthfully, they had expected a lot of resistance from the locals, but quite surprisingly, the resistance was quite minimal. No goons were shooting their machine guns or launching rockets at them, and no one was throwing grenades or using high-powered flamethrowers. It was almost too peaceful. Except for the guard at the door trying to aim a pistol at them, there was almost no visible opposition from the gang members who were supposed to be present here, according to the intel that Commissioner James Gordon received as an anonymous tip. Was the woman speaking on the phone lying? But she sounded so trustworthy, and her words didn't even have any contradictions or inconsistencies too. Gordon was getting more and more confused about the entire situation. He was even beginning to regret so quickly believing in the caller who called to tip him off about a huge deal that was going to happen here. Soon, all of the cops entered the main area of the nightclub, as well, where a lot of people were still enjoying their night without even caring about the illegal stuff happening near them. But even after coming so far, they still didn't face any resistance. It was like nobody cared about cops entering the place, not bystanders. Not even the criminals, but just as Gordon was getting worried about having been fooled by some random prankster, he and the rest of the cops finally noticed something strange. There were multiple unconscious men all over the nightclubs, their unresponsive bodies placed in such a way that anyone who didn't have experience in combat would think that they had drunk themselves asleep. With a small gesture from Jim Gordon, Harvey immediately tested the man's pulse. He isn't dead, just unconscious. Someone seems to have shattered his collarbones. Oh, and look at that. He has a loaded gun in his hands. Looks like he was trying to use it before he was knocked unconscious. Harvey helpfully informed, trying to keep his voice low so as not to cause any panic among the people who still had no idea about what had gone down here. This one lying unconscious on the stairs is the same, only he has a knife clutched in his hand. Also, his jaw is dislocated, like very badly dislocated. Another cop stated after examining a different unconscious guy, who looked like he was silently sitting on the stairs, deeply thinking about something. Jesus. What kind of man can do all this without even alerting a single person? Jim Gordon couldn't help but ask aloud. Not a man, maybe a monster, Harvey answered from beside him, his eyes emitting caution. You know the word on the streets, right? The monster in black hunting criminals at night like common street dogs. He destroyed half of Falcon's empire in a single night. The Grim Knight. I thought you called him the Dark Knight last time. And those are just rumors, spread by criminals. We are cops. We can't pay heed to rumors. We have to do our jobs. Now, let's go and check the next floor. Paul, Eddie, and Tom secure the unconscious men and only then start investigating and questioning the others. The rest of you, come with me. My gut tells me that we are going to find more than just some drugs up there. Jim Gordon said as he moved past the unconscious guys without even batting a single eye. He might look weaker due to his increasing age and smaller stature when compared to most other younger officers who work out and keep themselves in shape, but that didn't change the fact that he was a veteran in this. A cop who had been working in Gotham for more than a decade. There were very few things in the city that could surprise him anymore. The next floor was much smaller than the ground floor. It was basically just one giant soundproof room that was supposed to be the office of the owner of the establishment, the newly rising gang leader, Oswald Chesterfield Cobblepot, or as his enemies called him, Penguin. Outside the office, a few more knocked-out guys were lying on the floor. They of course ignored this and went straight into the office. Mr. Cobblepot, we are from the GCPD. We need to search your office for possession of alleged drugs and illegal weapons. We have a warrant as well. We are coming inside. We advise you to not resist, otherwise, we will also be forced to use appropriate force as well. James Gordon announced from outside the office as he opened the door. He was seriously lacking men and didn't want the situation to develop into an all-out shootout which would only result in a loss of his loyal and capable officers. So he decided that being as civil as possible was the best way to do this as long as his backup wasn't here. But as the group pushed through the door into Penguin's office, every single one of them was shocked out of their minds. The picture inside the room wasn't quite as they had expected. They had thought that Penguin would either be ready with a gun in his hands along with his lackeys, or he would be dead by now, killed at the hands of the caped crusader. Instead, what they saw was the huge unconscious yet breathing body of Penguin lying on the floor with fresh blood all over his clothes, a testament to how intense of a beating he had just received at the hands of the other figure, who was calmly standing at the center of the room. A figure who was dressed in black armor, styled like a bat with his cape wrapped around himself. The Punisher! Harvey exclaimed in surprise with a hard gulp. Hands above your head and get down on the ground, were the first words that came out of Jim's mouth as he aimed his pistol straight at the masked vigilante's head. Hello, detective. I have been wanting to meet you for quite a long time. No, I am not the Punisher. But yes, I am Batman. Bruce said in a deep voice using his armor's voice modulator. You are responsible for scores of assault counts, private property damage, attempt to murder, and permanently disabling or crippling at least half a dozen people. Whatever you want to say, you can say in court or while being in custody. Jim doubled down, trying to arrest the masked individual in front of him. I am the one who called you and tipped you off about what was going to go down here today. I was also the one who beat up those thugs as well as Penguin here, but make no mistake, I have no animosity with the good citizens of Gotham. I want the same thing you do, purging the corruption right out of Gotham and making this a better place for both myself and the citizens that live in it. And for that, I want to work with you. I could have left long ago. I was only waiting here because I wanted to meet you. So what do you say, Gordon? Wait, how can we believe you? You might just be a criminal no better than any other street rat, only saying that stuff to avoid being arrested. Gordon asked, slight hesitation visible on his face as all the other cops made sure to aim at the most vital organs in Bruce's body in case this whole thing turned south. Arrested? I see. So you think I'm afraid of you and your guns. That's why you are so nervous. Fine, have it your way then. Hey, you wearing that pink Hello Kitty band on your left arm? Shoot me in my face or chest. Or wherever you think would kill me. Bruce suggested to the cop closest to him while staring him right in his eyes. In his mind, he was hoping that maybe seeing their hardest bullets not even leaving a scratch on his armor would finally make them understand just how much he was out of their pay grade. Maybe, then he would finally be able to talk to them without them pointing their guns at him all the time. Omniscient POV. Jim Gordon normally didn't like to trust criminals. As a cop working in freaking Gotham of all places, he didn't trust civilians or even other cops, much less criminals, or in this case a broody vigilante dressed in a weirdly cool black and red metal armor who liked to beat up criminals for a kick. But something inside him told him that he should, that if he didn't believe the guy, he would be making a big mistake that would cost both him, his force, and this city quite dearly. You are Griffin Katz, right? You have a younger brother and a single mother at home, don't you? Do me a favor, officer, and shoot me right in the head. The chest would do too, since they are the most well-known weak points in the human body. Batman gestured at one of the officers behind Jim Gordon, who was pointing the gun at him with slightly shaking hands. Come on, what are you waiting for? Do it. At least, then we will be able to talk calmly without any of you thinking that you are any danger to me, even with all your guns. Griffin, don't. Jim tried to be the voice of reason. He himself wasn't sure if the Dark Knight was telling the truth or not, but he didn't want to take a gamble. Shooting someone, even though the victim asked to be shot, was still very much a punishable offense, even if the shooter was a cop and the victim was a criminal assaulting a caped crusader. Do it. Now. Bang! The sound of a bullet pierced the tense atmosphere as the officer shot his gun, his fingers still twitching from fear. No, I didn't want to. It was a mistake. I was just scared for a moment. The cop immediately tried to defend himself as he put his gun down in fear, but contrary to what he was expecting, there was no dead body falling on the floor like a puppet with broken strings. No, the figure in front of him wasn't even the slightest bit wounded. Told you you can't hurt me. This armor can withstand a heavy military-grade missile that can take out half of this city. One single bullet would not even scratch it. So now that we have finally concluded that you guys can't harm me, can we now finally move on to the more important subjects that we need to discuss? Like all the substantial and non-dismissible evidence I have that can prove that half the drugs, crimes, and illegal weapons in the city are currently being controlled by Carmine Falcon, with Penguin and this little nightclub of his being an important part of Falcon's operations. Batman stated as he waved a thick folder in front of the cop's eyes. And what do you get by helping us for free? No, wait, let me guess, you are removing competition for whoever you work for, so that they can take Falcon's empty throne for themselves once he goes to jail. Gordon asked with a disgusted snort. I don't work for anyone. Someone might take up Falcon's power once he goes to jail, but I will make sure that I send them to jail as well. And as for your question, I don't work for anyone. However, I do indeed need something from you. I need your word that none of the cops will come after me while I do my work. I will purge Gotham of its filth and corruption, and even assist GCPD when it needs my help, but in return, you and all your officers will leave me alone to my devices, so that I can bring everyone who deserves it to justice. You want us cops, the guardians of justice, to let you, a random person in armor and a mask, roam the city freely, and beat up criminals as much as you want while we do nothing and sit on our asses all day long, hoping that you will be able to do our job better than us. Truthfully, Jim was more than tempted to accept the offer. For some reason, he was sure that this person was more capable than his entire police department. However, he was not able to put aside his pride and say it in front of so many of his officers. In simple terms, yes. But I can assure you that you won't regret it, and Gotham's development as a city will be much faster that way. Now, do you want to make a deal or not? Do you want Gotham to improve or not? Bruce asked while extending the folder in Gordon's direction. I will think about it, Jim answered after a deep sigh as he took the folder from Bruce. As the commissioner of GCPD and the cop holding the most power and superior position here, he could not agree to Bruce's proposal so readily in front of the gaze of his other officers, and thus had to feign disagreement. But in his mind, Jim thought that it was a very good deal to make in a city like Gotham, since there was a chance, however small it be, that the Dark Knight would actually be able to make Gotham a much better place by achieving things that could not be done by staying within the boundaries of the law. That's why Jim Gordon didn't outright say no to his suggestion. The veteran cop needed to have a more thorough discussion with Batman before he could even think of agreeing to such an outlandish proposal. You can arrest this guy here as well. There is enough evidence in that folder to tie him to Falcon. I have even more evidence to make it a completely airtight case, but I'll send it to you only after you agree to assist my goal. Bruce laid down his conditions. Plus, I think you will find about 100 kilos of illegal narcotics they were planning to distribute in the city, stored in the basement, along with enough weapons to start a rebellion. That should be useful as evidence as well. Thank you. We have also secured all the other gang members you knocked out as well. But, may I ask, where is Carmine Falcon? If he is the real mastermind of this entire operation, we need to arrest him to truly shut this entire thing down. Jim Gordon stated while signaling his subordinates to arrest the unconscious Penguin and then raid the basement of the nightclub. Falcon, huh? Well, I know exactly where he is. But if you want him alive, we need to move now. My friend doesn't really like Falcon that much, so there is a slight chance that she might try to kill him. Or might have already killed him by now. For the sake of the promise I made to my mother, you will have to die. Selina said with venom in her voice as she positioned her bladed tail in front of Falcon, ready to decapitate him with a single slash of her artificial cat tail. Wait, Catwoman. Stop. The heavy voice of Batman suddenly stopped Catwoman in her tracks, making her look at the door behind her with furrowed brows. Bruce was looking at her with the police commissioner, James Gordon waiting behind him with his gun pointed at her, ready to shoot her or Falcon at a single wrong move. You know what he did to me, Batman. He killed my mother. So why? Why would you want me to spare him? Selina almost yelled in desperation. Because you are better than this Catwoman. Killing him like this won't solve anything. It won't make your life any better than it is. It will just make you a criminal, and push you into a path that you won't be able to come back from. He might have taken your mother's life. But tell me the truth, would your mother ever want her only daughter to live the life of a criminal, chased by cops her entire life? Would your mother want her daughter to be a wanted murderer? Would she? Bruce argued. But what about him? Doesn't he deserve to be brought to justice? Selina still tried to plead her cause. He will be brought to justice, but not like this. He will be given proper punishment in a court of law. I will make sure of it. I promise you. Gordon too tried his best to calm Catwoman down. If you kill a killer, the number of killers in the world remains the same. Bruce urged as he walked toward Selina and held her shoulder for support. I see. Fine, take him. He is yours. Smack. Selina used her tail to slap and knock out Falcon using her tail, before weakly walking away from the room. Her mind was already in chaos and regret for not being able to keep her mother's promise. She didn't want to be around Falcon anymore, since she would probably not be able to stop herself from killing him if she had to look at his disgusting face for even a few more minutes. You can arrest Falcon now. But, remember to keep him secure. A lot of important and powerful people in Gotham used to work with Falcon as his partners or allies. They wouldn't like him talking in court and might try to silence him to save themselves. I am trusting you to keep him safe, Commissioner, so that he can get his deserved punishment from the court like he should. Batman gave a small nod at Jim while handing him a small matte black card with a bat insignia embedded in the center. I'll contact you through that when it's time for us to talk. I will keep him away from everyone's claws. Batman. GCPD will do its best to ensure that Carmine Falcon will be punished accordingly by the law. Jim Gordon respectfully nodded back at Batman before proceeding to check the pulse of the criminal godfather. Thank God, he is alive. Anyway, before you go, do you think you can give me a statement of what was happening here before we... Where did he go? Jim looked around the washroom frantically, but couldn't find a single trace of the Dark Knight anymore. He had only looked away for a moment, but the Batman had disappeared like he was never there. Goddamn animal-themed ninjas. He muttered to himself. 6 hours later, GCPD Precinct, Omniscient POV, Commissioner, we don't have any more space in our cells. We have arrested too many criminals. We can't even release some of them since we received evidence against all of them in serious charges. Plus, we are short-handed. A gang war broke out a few hours ago downtown after news of Falcon being arrested spread out. We are spread too thin right now. I think we should call for backup. One of the officers who was loyal to Jim politely advised, his voice carrying a tinge of frustration. Both Jim and the officer were currently making their way to the special cell where they were holding Falcon. Their eyes had darkened and sunken in due to a heavy lack of sleep. I already have. They should be here within the hour. But that's not what is bothering me. Just within the last hour, I have already received 9 death threats that stated that they would kill me if I didn't release Falcon. 6 threats from various superiors of mine that ordered me to release him, along with quite a few generous offers from some very rich men in an attempt to bribe me to make sure that their names would not be mentioned in our investigation. I am worried about the fact that even with so much hard evidence, it would be hard to hold Falcon in prison. If I am right about how deep this rabbit hole goes, then he would most likely get bail on the very first day this case hits the court. Jim stated in dismay as both of them reached the VIP cell that Falcon was currently relaxing in. It's a good thing that my daughter is not in the city right now, otherwise, protecting her would have been a headache at this time. He thought to himself as he noticed the old leader of Gotham's most powerful crime family calmly sitting on a chair in his cell. Jim Gordon was glad that he had let his daughter go to the metropolis to complete her schooling. Whenever his daughter was in Gotham, he would always be worried for her safety. At least, this way she was safe in Metropolis. After all, what was the worst thing that had ever happened in Metropolis? Compared to Gotham, it was heaven. Ah, Commissioner, you are here. I thought that you had forgotten about your best friend. Interesting, your face tells me that you have had some interesting conversations with some of my friends, I presume. So, am I free? Or do you still want me to cooperate? Falcon asked with a small mocking smile. You aren't walking out of here a free man, Falcon. Even if I lose my job, I will make sure that you get your due punishment. I have promised someone that you will be judged appropriately by the court, and I intend to keep it. And I have enough evidence to do exactly that too. I will make sure that you get locked up so deep that you never see the light of day ever again. Jim didn't have the slightest trace of fear on his face as he threatened the most powerful gang leader in Gotham. Oh, come on, Commissioner. You and I both know that won't happen. You might be able to hold me inside this cell for a few more hours, maybe even days, but the moment I walk inside the court, I will be the one winning. I have friends in very high places, dear Gordon, and they will never let me go to prison. I admit that the bat and the cat did catch me by surprise, but it wouldn't happen again. Plus, even if by some miracle I do get a few years in jail, do you think I won't be able to escape? Or better yet, do you think I won't be able to handle and grow my empire while being stuck inside a prison? No, my friend, I can control the entire Gotham while sitting inside this cell, Commissioner. I don't need to be free to do that. Falcon chuckled at Gordon's naivety, who just stared at him begrudgingly, knowing that what he said was completely true. You think you are some powerful and reputable man because you sell drugs to kids, kill a few people, and have a couple of hired guns to your name. Believe me, you are not. You are just another broken product of this city, desperate to hold onto a sliver of power because of your greed. You are pathetic, Falcon, and no amount of money, political connections, or fake Italian accents is going to change that. Call me when you are ready to talk. I'll be in my cabin, Gordon said with a disgusted snort as he and his subordinate began to leave the same way they came, his mood now completely ruined. Batman and Catwoman, huh? Just wait, once I get my hands on you too. I will make sure that you will get the most bloody and horrific deaths in Gotham. A death that is so dreadful that even animals wouldn't want to experience an end like that. Maybe after I am done with them, I'll come after the Commissioner and his daughter next. Falcon muttered with a menacing grin after both the cops had left. He desperately wanted to know the true identities of the two vigilantes. Once he learned of their identities, everything would be over for them. He would be able to finally take his revenge, showing how dangerous he truly is. Truthfully, Falcon even had an inkling of who the girl could be. He might not have recognized the woman in the photo that the girl dressed in the catsuit showed him, but that didn't mean he couldn't comprehend the situation. Catwoman was most probably some daughter of his who wanted to take revenge against him because she believed that he had killed her mother, which might even be true since he didn't remember how many of his lovers he had gotten killed because they had blackmailed him or because his wife found out about them. He never cared about any of his so-called lovers. In fact, he didn't even care about this new daughter of his. But that didn't change the fact that she might be useful to him later on. If Falcon could somehow find out about the identity of the woman in the photo, which shouldn't be too hard considering who he was, then he would be able to find out about his daughter's true identity, which would lead him to the Bat as well since they seem to be close, maybe even partners. After that, getting rid of them would be child's play. The only thing I would have to plan, then, is how should I kill them both? Maybe I should skin them alive and tie them up along with their costumes in front of the Gotham Police Department to make an example out of them. Yes, that does sound quite appealing. Maybe I will do exactly that, Carmine Falcon mumbled to himself as he waited for one of his gang members to contact him. TSK. Why are there spiders here? Do those filthy pigs don't even know how to clean up their own precinct? He became aggravated after a small spider jumped on him, biting him before quickly escaping to God knows where. Goddamn insects. That's why I hate cops and their precinct so much. He murmured silently to himself as he licked up his dry lips. Suddenly, the inside of his mouth began to feel a little dry while his throat began to feel parched. Am I dehydrated? Falcon whispered to himself as he drank the entire glass of water kept on the table in front of him, but unfortunately for him, that only continued to increase his thirst. Soon, his thirst became so great that his skin itself seemed to dry up as his eyes sunk in and the color of his lips changed. Somebody please. I need some more water. He begged as he fell, no longer being able to stand on his toes, but there wasn't anyone else in the special cell. He was the only one. Nobody heard his pleas for water until he finally collapsed dead after a few minutes, alone in the cell due to his thirst with his entire body having shriveled looking like a mummified corpse. Carmine Falcon, the biggest crime lord of Gotham, was dead just like that. Bruce Wayne POV. And that's how you kill someone without ever being suspected of the murder while still getting all the benefits. You're finally happy to get your revenge, right, Selina? I asked after the footage on the Bat computer that was being transmitted directly from the drone in Falcon's cell showed Carmine Falcon finally dying due to the thirst virus that was injected into his system. I don't know. I think so. I don't know if I am happy or not, but I am definitely satisfied. It's like a sense of contentment at having achieved your goal. Selina replied with a thoughtful expression on her face, her fingers still lingering on the button that just killed Falcon by making the spider drone bite and inject the virus into him. I understand that you were saying all those things at that time to stop me from killing Falcon in front of Gordon, but what about the killer quote? I thought you were quite serious when you said that. I was. Killing a killer indeed does not decrease the number of killers in the world. But that's why I intend to kill multiple killers. If I kill 100 killers, the world will have 99 killers less than what it should have. Problem solved. I shrugged innocently. Now, let's go and have some dinner. All this death has made me hungry. I think Alfred himself is cooking steak today, and you know how much I love his steaks. Omniscient POV. After Carmine Falcon's mysterious death, the entire city of Gotham went through a series of massive changes. Gotham's entire political and criminal landscape transformed in a fortnight as dozens of government officials previously aligned with the Falcon Gang resigned from their posts and went into hiding in fear of attacks from other gangs. The official press announcement was that Falcon had died of a heart attack while in prison, but truthfully it was an open secret that his death was anything but natural or ordinary. Almost every well-connected man in Gotham knew that Falcon died a very terrible and awful death. The higher-ups in GCPD, FBI, and DEA who had become involved with the investigation into Falcon Gang's illegal drug cartel empire suspected that he was killed by one of his own partners in an attempt to silence him permanently. Still, a very few intelligent men in Gotham knew better. One of them was Commissioner James Gordon. Even before arresting Falcon, Gordon knew that there was quite a significant chance that someone would try to silence Falcon, and he was in fact quite ready for it as well. From constant monitoring through multiple CCTV cameras to 24/7 guard by his most loyal officers, he had done everything to make sure that there was no way the Joe Chill situation would be repeated again. But alas, Lady Luck was again not with him. However, even though Gordon still had no idea about how Falcon died in his cell without anyone even going near his cell, he was still able to figure out something else. He was able to deduce that Falcon's death was most probably not caused by his allies, but instead by something else. Or someone else because he had seen this type of death before. He had seen this method of killing in his younger days when he had to investigate the sudden death of most of the Bertinelli family. He remembered the strange case of criminals dying with their bodies shriveled up exactly like Falcon died. So it either indicated that Falcon's death had some sort of connection with the massacre of the Bertinelli family, or it simply meant that someone out there was targeting and killing criminals for some reason. But the question was why? Was it revenge, a rival gang trying to eliminate competition, or maybe just some guy out there who finally cracked and started killing gangsters to satiate his anger? Whatever it was, Gordon had been saved by a stroke of luck because despite Falcon dying in his custody, the commissioner still wasn't fired. Turns out that all the hard evidence James Gordon had gotten from Batman or recovered from the Iceberg Lounge pointed to Falcon being the biggest ringmaster of the Gotham criminal underworld, but it could just as easily be slightly twisted to implicate others as well. And that was exactly what his superiors did. The public and the government wanted someone to blame, to direct their anger and hatred at. They could not get Falcon since he was dead before they could prove anything in court, so they instead turned their attention to someone else. It was unanimously decided that Penguin, who was one of Falcon's major partners, and was one of the few who was caught red-handed with his hands completely and permanently stuck in the metaphorical cookie jar, would be the one to be sacrificed. He would be the sacrificial lamb who would take the fall as the biggest kingpin of Gotham. Of course, Penguin himself had no idea of what was happening, or why he was suddenly being called the biggest criminal in Gotham City. He always wanted to be the most famous gang leader in Gotham, but he never thought that he would become one so easily without even being able to enjoy any of the benefits. When he did come to understand a few things, Oswald Cobblepot could not help but curse at his own luck, Carmine Falcon as well as the Dark Knight who had been the indirect cause of all his sufferings. All of his properties were directly seized by the government, including his nightclub. His power and influence were crushed as all of his allies isolated him in fear that they would be targeted as well by the government if they tried helping him too much. Even his men left him, not wanting to further endanger themselves, while Penguin himself was sentenced to imprisonment for 50 years without any chance of bail or early parole. All the while this was happening, the city of Gotham again began to go through a series of extreme changes as rumors of the Dark Knight's involvement in the arrest of Penguin and Falcon circulated within the media, especially through the Gotham News Network, which was owned by Wayne Entertainment. A lot of criminals got scared and even considered retiring from their life of crime, but there were also those who thought that they were smarter and better than any newbie vigilante out there. However, there was also a third sort of dangerous group of criminals as well besides the previous two. They understood that they could no longer survive with how things were, so they began to adapt and evolve too. From operating much more stealthily in the city to searching for better weapons and technology to grow faster, they didn't leave any route unexplored to increase their power and influence. To them, this was the best time for them to grow without attracting too much attention. The recent death of Falcon was a rare opportunity and according to them, they would be a fool to let it go. But amongst all this, one thing still remained unclear in everyone's minds. Just who the hell was the Dark Knight and where was he now? And most important of all, what was he going to do next? Wayne Manor, Bruce Wayne POV. Can you all stop looking at me like I am some sort of criminal? This is seriously unsettling. I said while calmly taking a sip of my coffee. You know, young master, you could have just told me that you wanted to roam about the city at night in a bat costume while beating up criminals. I wouldn't even have tried to stop you since you seemed so determined about the entire thing, but instead, you hid everything from me. For a moment, you almost had me worried that you were doing drugs. Although in hindsight drugs would have been much safer than what you have currently got yourself in. Alfred gave me a disappointed look. I was currently sitting at the head of the table in the dining room of the Wayne Manor with Alfred, Vicky, Nissa, and Talia all sitting around me, giving me all sorts of looks. They had found out about my recent adventures as Batman as well as my role in the fall of Falcon courtesy of Selina yelling in the hall about how cool she looked as Catwoman, and how much she wanted to shaboink me while in our costumes, which both Alfred and Nissa had heard. As for Vicky, she had just figured everything out on her own. In her own words, there was only one man in Gotham who could design that high-tech bat-themed armor to fight crime while having a cat-obsessed girl following him. Of course, Selina had already managed to escape this interrogation by giving the excuse of meeting her friend, Holly, who had just returned from Washington. Unfortunately for me, however, I didn't have such an effective and believable excuse, which meant I had to stay back here to explain everything to them. Sorry, Alfred, but this wasn't exactly something I could tell you during a dinner conversation, although I should tell you that I wasn't going to keep it a secret for much longer. Anyway, now that you guys know everything, I think I should go back to my lab. I have a pair of soul-killing twin swords to research. So, catch you later. I tried to make up an excuse to escape. Is it true that you and Selina shaboink? Nissa asked with a blank face as she took a glance at her elder sister. I feel like this is a conversation I should not bring myself into, so I am going to leave you kids alone to solve your own problems. Best of luck, young master. I feel like you are going to need it. Alfred muttered the last part mostly to himself as he quickly made his exit before I could answer her. Sigh. Yes, I won't lie, Nissa. I did sleep with Selina, but it was not because of some one-time fling or because I wanted to sleep around behind your back or something. It was because I love her. Just like I love you. In fact, I fell in love with her even before I met you. I could never tell you anything because I was afraid to let you go. I still am because I love you and her both. And believe me, I know how much of an asshole I sound right now. But that's the honest truth. Nissa was not the only one to wince at my words. Even Vicky, who was trying to make herself seem invisible too, scared at my words, while looking annoyed for some reason. I could swear that I even heard a small mutter of, "That bitch got ahead of me," coming from her. And you want me to just accept your relationship with Selena? To pretend that it's normal? What if I had done the same thing, Bruce? What would you have done then? If I had cheated on you, would you have moved on and accepted it? Nissa asked calmly. None of the turbulent emotions that I was expecting were visible on her face. Maybe she is just too angry to show any emotions. I hope she doesn't go dark and become a villain trying to kill me to get her revenge. Talia also seemed a bit too calm to my taste as she just watched both me and Nissa with amused eyes. She looked like she was barely holding back a smirk. No, I would have most probably ruined the life of the person you have cheated on me with, if not outright killed him. I am not a proud hypocrite, but honestly, that's what I would have done if you had cheated on me without breaking up with me first. I admitted as I struggled to meet her eyes. I guess you were right about him, sis. Nissa released a heavy sigh as she got up from her seat. God, I think I really screwed up. I really didn't want to break her heart. I never wanted to cuckold a woman. I always looked down on partners cheating on each other, but now, I have done it myself. I freaking hate myself right now. I accept your proposition. I love him too much to leave him. But if I had to share someone, I don't see why I shouldn't do it with my own elder sister. At least, that way, there isn't any chance of you stealing him away from me. Nissa finished as she got up to leave. There was a heavy blush on her face as she quickly left the room in hurried steps without looking at me even once. Wait, what? Of course, I won't, my dear sister. There is no way I'll ever try stealing away your man. Talia answered with a small smile as she gave me a playful look. Wait, what? What the hell just happened here? Is there anything I am not aware of, or did I just unlock some sort of ultimate harem protagonist halo? Wayne Pharmalab Gotham, Bruce Wayne POV. So you were telling the truth when you said that you can cure my wife of her condition? Victor Fries muttered while staring at me with uncertain eyes. It looked like he was struggling to believe that he was hearing such good news. I wouldn't have called you here if I weren't going to tell you the truth, would I? In fact, if you had just tried to contact me from the very start, your wife would have been cured by now. Instead, you tried to steal money and resources from my company, which, by the way, was a very stupid move, and even blamed me when you got fired by your direct supervisor. Do you even realize how stupid that sounds? Someone's wife being sick doesn't turn them into an imbecile, you know? Sigh anyway, as I was saying, medical technology has improved a lot more than what people generally think. Plus, what your wife has isn't something scarce. A lot of people too suffer from it. McGregor syndrome is just an illness caused by the genetic degradation of a particular gene, which mostly happens due to heavy drug usage. The illness itself isn't something too complicated, but instead, what makes it so dangerous and hard to cure is the gene which gets affected. I answered as I showed him an image of his wife's deteriorating cells that were causing the symptoms. Wait, it affects a particular gene, not the entire cell? But, how did I not figure this out? I did so much research on this disease. How the hell did I miss it? Confusion etched on Victor's face while he slowly caressed his wife's hand while trying his best to hide his embarrassment about my earlier words. Because the gene that is being affected is not some normal human gene that can easily be detected. It's a very unique type of gene that can only be found in a tiny portion of the human population. I call it the meta gene. It is a sort of natural mutation in humans that, if activated under particular circumstances, can cause or give their host strange abilities like increased strength, speed, or healing. They can even give powers that can appear borderline impossible. However, this also means that the meta gene, when recessive, is not only extremely difficult to detect in the human anatomy, but also almost impossible to map out or accurately figure out how it truly functions, thus leading to even the biggest pharma and bio companies failing to find a way to stop its deterioration in case it is affected by a disease like McGregor syndrome. I explained. Truthfully, the syndrome was the only illness I had found till now that could directly affect the meta gene. At first, I even thought that it could be a good bioweapon against metahumans, but unfortunately for me, and fortunately for all metahumans, the condition can't target activated metagenes. Metagene? It almost sounds unbelievable. But still, if all that is true, why do you think that you can cure my wife of this disease even though interacting with this so-called metagene is so difficult? I said it's difficult for normal humans to find a cure, but not for me, a genius billionaire philanthropist. You see, money can buy a lot of things. Extremely talented scientists and abundant resources to research a rare and complex disease like this are just some of them. Also, The cure for this illness isn't some medicine with miraculous healing properties, but instead a unique concept that I derived from nanotechnology. I informed him as I took out a vial from my pocket with light blue-colored serum inside it. Say hi to Xenobots, the next generation of medical technology specialized for medical and genetic treatments. This can cure my wife? He asked unsure as he looked at the serum. Oh yeah, 100%. These are biological, artificially created cells that can not only kill different bacteria or viruses, but also repair cellular or genetic damage. Theoretically, it can do almost anything that it is programmed to do, and once it completes its function, it just dies and becomes dead cells which automatically get removed from the body. The process is of course completely safe. I confidently explained as I loaded up the serum in a small injector. Truthfully, the concept of Xenobots had already been invented in my previous life, but of course, due to constraints of technology, it was not even 1/3 as effective as the ones I have developed now. Those were only able to clean the environment by collecting microplastics from water or delivering drugs more precisely into various parts of the human body. However, the version of the biotechnology that I have developed is highly based on the technology of the extremis virus from Marvel and can function exactly like human body cells, only a lot better. It can be programmed to cure almost any disease or illness known to mankind, and even fix many genetic or hereditary conditions as well. The best thing, however, is that it is a black box type of technology, since I used a very complex biolock on the cells while initially developing them, meaning that they can't be replicated or copied by anyone who doesn't know the exact way of developing them. With my technology, they can be very cheap when developed in bulk, with them almost being the same price as any other normal antibiotics. Also, I can just program the cells to target and treat one single disease or illness at a time, thus limiting its usefulness and making more money by selling them separately for different diseases while also staying off the radar of the government as well as other big pharma companies. After all, I don't want to face an antitrust lawsuit so soon. I haven't even completed collecting dirt on all the big politicians in Washington yet. I see. Then, Mr. Wayne, I beg you, please save my wife. I will do anything to pay you back for it. I will be your slave for the rest of my life. Just, please help me. Victor went down on all 4 of his limbs as he begged me with his head down. His voice was breaking due to the intense emotions and desperation it carried, with tears streaming down his face. I was his last hope. And truthfully, it was both heartbreaking and heartwarming to see the extent to which a man could go to save the love of his life while not expecting anything in return. Hey, get up. I would have saved your wife even if you did not do anything for me. It's my job to help the world with my products and services. Wayne Enterprises exists to change the world for the better and to make everyone's lives a bit easier. And if you truly want to pay me back, then just love and take care of your wife like a loving husband. Also, come back to work for my company. It needs... No, I need people like you to help save the world along with millions of people just like your wife. I said as I gently urged him to get up before moving on to inject his wife with the serum. The Xenobots didn't heal his wife in a few seconds like some magic potion in comics or manga, but certain changes were visible as the screens of the different monitoring equipment connected to her body showed her condition slowly becoming better. She is recovering. This is sob, thank you. You are an angel, Mr. Wayne. No, you are a god. He cried as he tried to give me a hug, which I skillfully dodged. Not yet, but maybe one day. And remember what I said. I need people like you on my team and your expertise in freezing and cryotechnology. I can use a mind like yours in my quest to change the world. I smiled as I encouragingly patted his arm. She will completely recover within a day or 2. Don't worry, soon enough your wife will be as healthy as a horse. You can take her back home then. Until then, she has to remain in the lab for observation. Also, try not to tell anyone that I used the Xenobots on her. You know how the FDA gets about treating people with experimental cures without taking proper permissions from them first. Don't worry, sir. I will never betray you even if it costs me my life. Victor said with a serious face as he looked at me with newfound determination. I will always be loyal to you, no matter what. I swear it in the name of my wife. You watch too much period drama, Victor. Just remember my words and we will be good. Anyway, I will be taking my leave now. You should get a haircut and a shave. I don't think your wife will enjoy seeing you like this, I said as I gave him a weird look. Unkempt was the fanciest word that can be used to describe him right now. From messy hair to big dirty nails, a bushy and thick beard, and eye bags as thick as fingers under his eyes, He looked like a caveman who hadn't slept for days in fear of some wild animal stalking him. His wife might even have a heart attack and go back to a coma if she saw him like that. Yeah, you are right. Also, sir, can I ask you one more thing? I know you have already done a lot for me, more than I deserve since I wasn't exactly the best employee in your company. But still, I promised someone that I would try to help him out if I ever managed to find out a way to cure my wife. And I think you can provide that help. In fact, I think that you can even profit from it quite a lot by helping him out. The man spoke in an unsure voice. Yes, sure. Speak out, what is it? I will try my best to help you out as much as I can. I said as I looked at him with a questioning look on my face. Maybe he knows some other people who are suffering from an untreatable disease as well. Well, when I was fired from your company, I didn't have enough money to buy the cutting-edge equipment that I needed to build the machines to continue my research, but there was this man from Metropolis who selflessly helped me out. Even though a rare genius, he and his wife are just small-time toy makers who want to make toys to make children all over the world happy. But some evil companies want to use the advanced technology he uses in his toys to build weapons instead, and he doesn't want it. They have been harassing the couple for the past few days, even giving them death threats. I was powerless to help them, but maybe you can help them out. I can vouch for him. He is truly a good man, and all he wants is to make toys for the world. Victor pleaded. Fine, give me his contact details and tell him to expect my people to contact him. I'll see what I can do. I was actually thinking of opening a new toy and games company besides my video games division, so maybe there is a chance that I will even hire him as the lead toy researcher if he is good enough. What is his name, by the way? I inquired curiously. I think you will like him a lot if you get to know him. He is really a kind and honest man, almost a child. He goes by the name Winslow Shot. But he likes to call himself the toy maker because of his love and absolute dedication to making toys. Bruce Wayne POV. Are you ready for the neural link initiation, Goshijin-sama? These memories will be packing quite a punch, so you might be feeling some slight headache as well. Cortana warned with a straight face as she closed the bounds of the Soul Translator machine. It was a special machine that I had designed for stuff like this where one needed to artificially dive into their or someone else's subconsciousness. One can almost say that this was a Pro Plus Ultra version of the full dive with technology that was at least 2 generations ahead of the Atmosphere model. This would not only make this entire process of assimilating old Bruce's memories a lot easier and faster, but due to its various built-in failsafe, it would also make sure that nothing goes wrong with my mind, like developing dual personalities or a fractured mind. I am literally going to go into a semi-dead condition to dive into the deepest corners of my subconscious while hoping that I don't have a freaking ghost hiding inside my mind. So no, I don't think I can be more ready than this. Oh, and lock all the entrances to the cave before you start. I don't want any of the girls or Alfred finding me half dead on the table and assuming the worst while I deal with the original Bruce's leftovers. I ordered while releasing an annoyed sigh. Truthfully, even though I appeared annoyed from the outside, I was really nervous and worried on the inside. I had done my best not to show my anxiety and put on a brave face, but my false bravado wasn't fooling anyone since Cortana was too smart not to read even the tiniest of the micro-expressions on my face. She knew that the one thing that I feared more than death was not being me anymore, not having control over my own body and thoughts. That was why I always hated mind control stuff so much. Yeah, of course, sir. I know you will be back soon enough. Maybe even in time to pick up Deathstroke and his new team after they return back to Gotham from their final training montage. Cortana calmly responded in a relaxing tone as she did her best not to question my anxiety. Yeah, I'll be back. I murmured as the machine's sci-fi-looking headgear tightened around my head. Better than ever. I replied. Soul Translator online. Connecting to server. Uploading filtered memory folder titled, The Original Bat Brat, to subject's memory. Cortana's monotonous voice declared as the darkness slowly etched upon me. Complete full dive in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 8, pant gosh. I thought I was dead. Pant, that was the most harrowing experience I ever had. I don't think I'll ever go through that again. I complained aloud before I took a peek around me, trying to find out where I currently was. It didn't take long for me to find out, as a few glances were all it took me to recognize the place I was in. Turns out I was back at the Wayne mansion, lying on the cold floor of the living room of the estate. However, this was neither the real world nor the mind palace that I had designed under Ras Al Ghul's training. In fact, this was not even my subconscious mind in the truest sense of the term. This place was actually my Unconscious, if that's even a word. It was a segregated section of my mental domain, located in the deepest part of my mind inside my own subconsciousness where I had chosen to download the old Bruce's memories. It was not only a safe place that I could keep disconnected from my main subconsciousness if anything were to go horribly wrong, but also the place where going through the old Bruce's memories would be the easiest. The Wayne Mansion. I guess this is to be expected. This would be the most prevalent one in his memories. Bruce, where are you? We are getting late for the show. We need to go now. A female voice resounded as a beautiful middle-aged woman with a kind face, dressed in luxurious clothing, went towards his old room in a hurry. Unable to control my curiosity, I also followed the woman. Whatever memory this was, it must be something important if it was the first memory that had started playing on its own. Honey, everyone will be there. You won't get bored. Trust me, it will be an amazing experience. The woman, whom I could now clearly identify as Martha Wayne, encouraged me with a big smile on her face. But I don't feel good today. Can't we just stay back and watch a movie at home instead of a silly play? The younger Bruce, who was already dressed in a tuxedo, complained as he looked at his mother with his big puppy eyes. I am sorry, honey, but this is important to your father. He is the guest of honor in the play, you know. Plus, he will be meeting a lot of other important people there too. It won't look good if we don't go. Okay, fine, how about this? If you don't like the play, then I promise that we can just leave it halfway and return home. The older Wayne lady offered. Her words suddenly made me realize something. This was the night that Bruce and his parents were shot. Really? Okay then, I agree. I guess I can go with you. The young Bruce grinned while affectionately caressing the watch his father had previously given him, almost like he was trying to prove himself responsible. Goody. I will tell your father to get the car ready then. I love you, my little cupcake. His mother lovingly kissed her son's forehead, then turned around and left the room in a cheery mood while softly humming to herself. I can see some minor signs of mental instability in her. I wondered aloud as I stared at the direction she had just left. No, that's just a mother loving her son. The sound of the young Bruce suddenly speaking up out of nowhere surprised me, making me look at my younger self, who was directly staring at me with his unblinking eyes. The hell? You can see me? No, I actually have a better question. You can talk? You aren't just a memory? I asked, not believing my own ears as I looked at the boy who most definitely didn't look like a memory. Damn it, my biggest fear turned out to be true. I have a goddamn ghost residing in me. I am not a ghost, just a fragment of the will and ego of the previous Bruce Wayne that still hasn't been absorbed by your own soul. The boy clarified as he went back to fiddling with his watch. The actual me died that night. I am only an echo of him who was told to wait here until you are ready. Told? Who told you to wait here? I immediately asked with a deep frown. Maybe the being who had communicated with the previous Bruce was somehow involved in my transmigration as well. I no longer had any hope or even a wish to go back to my previous world, but knowing why and how I was sent to another world could be pretty useful. You don't know him. He said that he would reveal himself to you when the time comes, but not sooner than that. He only appeared to me during the last few moments of my life. He told me that he could help me realize my unfulfilled dreams and wishes if I wanted. He wanted to make a deal. I accepted. A sleazy guy who fooled an unassuming dying kid into making some stupid deal. Why the hell does he sound like some alternate cosmic version of the devil? Bruce Wayne POV, you think that he fooled me, don't you? Old Bruce stared at me with a deadpan. Maybe, maybe not. What did he promise you, by the way? Was it your parents, or maybe a new life? I asked, looking at the face of my younger version, who was expressionlessly staring back at me. My parents? Yes, I admit that I really wanted to meet them again, save them, and hug them one last time. But no, that was not my biggest wish. That night, when my parents died, and I was lying down there while bleeding out, the thing I was the most worried about was the city and the hundreds of kids like me who were losing their parents every day because of its corruption. I wanted to save myself, my parents, and every other victim of this cursed city, to help the world. To bring change was my biggest wish. And that being listened to me. He told me of a possible dark future and showed me what I was supposed to be as well as what the world would be like without Batman. It wasn't pretty. And you chose to just sacrifice your life after that? For what? A more mentally balanced Batman? I asked, confused at the self-sacrifice bullcrap the kid was spewing from his mouth. No, I sacrificed myself for a much better version of me. You are supposed to be the best of us, the best Bruce Wayne, and maybe even the best Dark Knight. And no, I didn't just sacrifice my life for it, I sacrificed my soul. You see, as my father used to say, everything has a price. I was always fated to die there, no matter what, but you weren't supposed to inherit my body. It was he who changed that and gave me a choice. I could just peacefully pass on and maybe even reunite with my parents in the afterlife, or he could bring you into this world inside my body, and my soul would be used as the required energy, anchor, and fortification that your spirit would need to survive. I would completely fade away with time, but a better version of me would be born. Young Bruce revealed. The world flickered and the scenery around us changed with his words as we found ourselves back in the dark alley where the original Bruce Wayne and his parents were shot that night. In front of us were the cold, hard dead bodies of Thomas and Martha Wayne, who looked like they were trying to protect a slowly bleeding out kid Bruce Wayne with their bodies even in their last breath. And let me guess, you chose the second option? I asked as I looked at the crying face of the dying Bruce Wayne, his eyes slowly losing color in despair and yet holding what looked like a faint trace of hope. Yes. And judging by your actions using my body with the little snippets of memories I was able to view, I don't regret it. My one life will now be able to save so many others. He was right. You are much more than I ever could be. Every Bruce Wayne is broken in some way. Maybe you are too, but you have the potential to be better than all of us. You are not what this world wants, but what it needs. Young Bruce for the first time showed a small smile at me after he kneeled in front of his and his parents' dead bodies. So this was never my ice guy. It was yours. I was transmigrated in your body because you wished for it from some omnipotent entity who took notice of your dying. Ha 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 ha. Sigh, my wish to become the best Batman of all time. Was that even my own wish, or was that too just the remnants of your desire affecting me? I muttered, wondering if I had been manipulated in my second life from the very moment I was born. Truthfully, I don't know, because that was indeed my last wish. But I swear that I had never even tried to affect you in any way. I simply couldn't. The moment you took over my body, my soul was broken down and used to heal and augment your soul, while the rest of it was brought up as shields around your spirit to hide you from the sights of all the cosmic entities of the world. To everyone else in this multiverse, including even beings like Death, you are me, the original Bruce Wayne, only a little different. He assured me that only the most powerful entities of this multiverse can even hope to recognize you, but fortunately for us, those beings don't normally interfere with the mortal world too much and most probably won't care about you unless you do something extremely major to attract their attention. And as for me, I already told you before. I am just the last dregs of the old Bruce's sense of self that was left here for you to clear things up. In fact, I am growing weaker as we speak, and soon I will disappear too. So we don't really have much time. Young Bruce explained. I see. I guess I'll believe you for now. I didn't. I was going to run thorough scans the moment I returned to the physical world to make sure that I was completely me and only me, but of course, I didn't need to say it aloud. And sure, I will do my best to protect Gotham and our world. After all, I am one of the idiots living in it. And I also have people I care for, like Selina, Vicky, Nissa, Zatanna, Alfred, and maybe even that idiot Deathstroke. I admitted, immediately promising myself that I was never going to admit this aloud in front of anyone else ever again. I know you are going to. Thank you for that. Any other questions for me before I go? Oh, and sorry for making you transmigrate as the guy who was indirectly the cause of your death. The man who heard my wish had a funny sense of humor. It's okay, man. You don't need to blame yourself for that. It wasn't your fault. You suffered enough, and your sacrifice is too big for me to even imagine. But I have some things to ask you before you go. You might have found out by now that our father made some mistakes in his life. But if I reveal those mistakes, the rest of the world can twist them around to use them to fling mud at his image. So do I. It's your choice. I am not the real Bruce anymore. You are. Even my parents' spirits will never know what truly happened to me that night. You are their son now. You are Bruce Wayne, and what you want to do with that information you found is your choice. I know that whatever you choose, it will be the right pick. Small boy Bruce answered as he got up from his kneeling position and directly faced me. I see. That brings me to the second question. Tell me, Bruce, if you could, would you try to bring back your parents? Would you raise them back from the dead or alter the timeline to do so, even if it could cause harm to the entire world? I asked with a serious face. You already know the answer to that question, don't you? We cannot stick to the past. We need to move on for this beautiful world to continue, even if it sometimes hurts us. He answered with a bitter smile. And what about your life? Would you want it back if you could have it? If you could somehow change the past without upsetting the balance, to redo things differently this time? I asked the final question that was in my mind. Maybe. Who doesn't want to live a longer and happier life? I would love to experience everything that I couldn't in my lifetime. But the choices I made, the actions I took, they were all mine and I own up to them. You can learn from all the mistakes I made or would have made. You can do all the things that I couldn't, and you can be everything that I wasn't. I believe in you, Bruce, and this life is yours now. Everything I was, everything I had been, everything I could be, everything I had, and everything I would have had, they are all yours. My parents' memories, my money, my amazing butler. Even the girlfriends that I would have made in the future, I am leaving them all for you. He said with a chuckle. Plus, the man told me that the death of me and my parents can no longer be changed by anyone. It's a fixed point in time, a nexus event that will happen no matter what. You will always exist, and I will always die. No one can change that. That was the price that I am going to pay to achieve what I truly desire. Young Bruce Wayne clarified. Oh, that makes sense, I muttered to myself, feeling bad for him. He was just a kid who was forced to mature after his death to make a hard choice. He deserved better than this. Anyway, it's time for me to disappear, this time permanently from your life. Take care of yourself and try to have a good life. You deserve it. Bye. Bruce. The young version of me said as he offered his hand for a handshake, his body slowly becoming transparent like he was fading from this world. Bye to you too, Bruce. I grabbed his slowly disappearing hand and shook it as a warm feeling began to creep up my arm from where our hands touched and spread through my entire body. Immediately the world flickered again, and I found myself back at the mansion, this time in the library as shelves of newly stocked books began to appear in front of me. The books contained the memories of the original Bruce Wayne. These foreign memories that were not mine began to slowly flow into my head like a gentle stream of water as I finally understood how much of a hero and good guy the kid Bruce truly was. He was telling the truth. Even at that age, he had chosen selflessly and had made the ultimate sacrifice by giving up his entire soul for the good of the world. You were wrong. I can never be as good as you, Bruce. I am selfish and I will probably never sacrifice my entire existence like you did. I will never be a hero like you. But I will create a better world than you, that I promise. I mentally promised while I went through all of the new memories and feelings I received as for the first time since arriving in this world, I found myself shedding a tear from my eyes. But again, this is my mental space, so this doesn't count. It's just my mental sweat. Also, I received no memories of Bruce's interaction with that being he mentioned. According to his memories, he just got hit by the bullet and died. It was like some amount of footage was missing from his memories, like someone had deliberately cut that part out. Still, a DC universe without Batman with all of his villains and other heroes still existing, huh? Sounds like a true nightmare. Omniscient POV. Have you figured out what caused this, Destiny? This is not supposed to happen. We need answers. A pale man wearing a dark coat asked as he stood inside a giant library beside a hooded man wearing shabby robes with a large thick book in his hands. No, unfortunately, I still haven't, Morpheus. The destiny of this particular universe is not constant. It's changing. It doesn't have a fixed destiny. At least not one that stays on for long. The robed man named Destiny calmly answered as he turned some of the pages in his book, looking like he was trying to read something. Then maybe Death might know something. All human souls of the multiverse ultimately go to her after all, no matter the universe. But again, she has been too silent for the last few years. She even barely shows her face at our gatherings anymore, much less meets any of us personally. It's like she is avoiding us. For now, let's keep this thing to ourselves. I don't want desire or despair trying to play with this world because they find it fascinating. Morpheus, aka Dream, replied while sighing. Yes, I agree too. This situation is too delicate for our siblings to interfere in. We don't know if this might cause any long-lasting effects on the greater multiverse. The balance is too delicate to cause any disturbance right now. Destiny nodded, agreeing with his younger brother. That is why I am so worried. We need to stop this. Whatever this is happening is not supposed to happen. That world was just a story among the infinite stories in Lucien's library that was never supposed to come to life. It is a putrid nightmare world that shouldn't exist. No, even if it does exist, it should remain in the dark multiverse where it belongs. But what I don't understand is which powerful being is crazy enough to rip out an entire universe from the dark multiverse without caring about the consequences. Morpheus wondered aloud as the two brothers of the Endless looked outside through one of the library windows. Outside the window, a ball of light which was supposed to be a single universe was visible. It was protected by some kind of powerful barrier and was located at the very edge between the light and dark multiverses. It was in a dangerous position and was almost at the nexus of the two, barring entry to both sections of the multiverse. The universe might not have a gateway to other universes of either of the two multiverses right now, but one wrong step and everything would be over. A single crack in between this and the dark multiverse would be all it takes for the darkness to come rolling in and completely take back what always belonged to it. One mistake would doom the universe back to its original home, the dark multiverse. In front of the Martha Wayne Memorial Hospital Gotham, omniscient POV, in the open air in front of the Martha Wayne Memorial Hospital of Gotham, where hundreds of Gothamites including normal citizens of Gotham and the press from various Gotham news agencies had formed a buzzing crowd, Bruce Wayne, the ever-enigmatic billionaire, calmly exited the biggest hospital of the city and walked up to the podium, his gaze sweeping across the sea of faces. The entire city block buzzed with anticipation and curiosity as everyone wondered about the big news that the Prince of Gotham, Bruce Wayne, was himself supposed to give today. Ladies and gentlemen, Bruce's resonating voice commanded attention. Sorry for making you wait so long, and thank you all for joining me today. We gather here today, not merely to celebrate World Heath Day, but to confront a heavily sour truth that has been haunting our city for far too long. He had already gotten everyone's attention as every reporter in the area pointed their cameras directly at him, determined not to miss even a single second of his speech and the juicy news of the sour truth he was going to reveal. Bruce continued, "My parents, Thomas and Martha Wayne, had envisioned a Gotham where every child had a chance, a future. They wanted a Gotham without any misled youth. That was why they came up with the Gotham Renewal Fund, which was supposed to be a beacon of hope for the downtrodden and needy. It was supposed to make the lives of every orphan in the city much easier. But unfortunately, that dream project of theirs was a massive failure. The very funds meant to uplift the needy were pillaged by those corrupted with power. They emptied the coffers of the fund by various illegal means, and instead of using it for doing good, they used it to spread their terror and crime all over the city. They used it for their own selfish gains, destroying and rotting the city from the inside for all these years." Bruce paused as memories of his parents' tragic end flashed before his eyes. Memories that were almost foreign to him and yet at the same time belonged to him now. Politicians and criminals alike have feasted on this fund's resources, leaving our orphanages destitute. Children suffer while greed flourishes, and men like Falcon use this greed to rule from the shadows, details of which were published online a few days, courtesy of an anonymous benefactor of the city, who calls himself the Dark Knight. The crowd leaned in, their curiosity piqued at the mention of the former kingpin of Gotham City and the new urban legend that everyone was quickly coming to believe in. Everyone held their breath as Bruce's jaw tightened with resolution. But that ends today. Tonight, I declare a new era. I have had a talk with the current mayor of Gotham and some responsible and still honest politicians, and it has been decided that the Gotham Renewal Fund will no longer be continued. His words echoed off the stunned silence among the people. From my own fortune, I am going to establish the Wayne Hope Foundation. This fund, unlike the older one, will be transparent, accountable, and unwavering in its mission, which is to ensure that every orphanage in Gotham thrives and no young citizen has to suffer. It will operate as a charity and accept donations as well. This fund will also have its own board to manage it, with me as its head chairman. At the end of each quarter, it will even publish each and every expenditure it makes or every penny it earns from donations on its own website to maximize transparency," he revealed. Truthfully, Alfred had already taken control of most orphanages in Gotham City a few years ago under Bruce's orders, so the young billionaire was taking care of most of the city's orphanages anyway. This fund was only meant to make it more official, with massive positive PR for him. Applause erupted among everyone present and emitted a wave of approval. Bruce's eyes met Alfred's, his loyal butler and confidant who was standing at the very front of the crowd. Alfred's calm and yet optimistic nod conveyed pride and relief that Bruce was doing the right thing. But the young Wayne still wasn't done. And now, a revelation that transcends wealth and politics. He leaned closer to the microphone. Researchers all over the world have been working day and night for years to cure some of the most harmful and incurable diseases that humanity suffers from. Some have succeeded in curing some of those ailments, but a lot of them still don't have any cure. But at last, scientists at Wayne Industries have finally achieved the impossible. Bruce made sure to let people know that it was his employees at Wayne Enterprises who were responsible for the invention as well as the R&D in the company. He preferred people underestimating him and making mistakes instead of people completely understanding his capabilities and being ready for him. He knew he would have a much easier time with people planning against his back if people thought of Bruce Wayne as an intelligent guy who was above average but not too much of a gifted genius or something. Truthfully, he wanted to display the persona of a successful businessman whose company excelled in innovation, and yet nobody knew if it was because of the person or the company. He wanted critics to argue and debate if he was truly intelligent or just plain lucky, leaving his foes no idea about the capabilities of their enemy. The entire zone was hushed with silence. I present to you, the Xenobots. Bruce gestured toward a big 53-inch makeshift screen that had been planted there, revealing microscopic cellular entities pulsating with life. The crowd gasped, not knowing why they were gasping or what they were even looking at. These tiny marvels, Bruce explained, are not mere machines. They're living programmable organisms. And their purpose? To heal. He projected dozens of images on the screen, giving a rough idea of how Xenobots work as well as their actual purpose, like Xenobots dismantling cancer cells, repairing damaged tissue, and annihilating viruses. Terminal diseases like McGregor's syndrome, AIDS, and over 100 types of cancer will no longer be insurmountable. These Xenobots, once programmed, can both attack viruses, bacteria, and bad cells as well as administer medicine in obscure regions of your body that are hard to reach and heal them faster. They will revolutionize medicine as we know it. This treatment will very soon be available to the public at very affordable costs, even with options for easy long-term payment methods. And for those who cannot afford this treatment despite those advantages, don't lose hope. I am establishing another $500 million charitable annual health fund where this treatment will be given to the people who are in real need of it for free or extremely discounted rates. Reporters scribbled furiously on their notepads while cameras zoomed in on Bruce to get a clearer picture of him holding a vial of Xenobot serum. The area crackled with excitement as Bruce showed a huge victorious smile to everyone there. Imagine a world where suffering yields to hope. Where children in our orphanages receive not just food and shelter, but a chance at life. That will be Gotham, he declared. We stand at the precipice of change. Together, we'll reclaim our city from the darkness, and Wayne Enterprises will make sure that we are right there beside you, to support you every step of the way. There were cheers from houses all around the city who were watching the entire thing live from their homes as people clapped in admiration for the impossible feat that Wayne Enterprises and its owner had achieved. The streets, once plagued by fear, now buzzed with anticipation as hope returned to the people of Gotham. Something had changed today. Nobody knew exactly what, but a lot of people could feel it in their bones. They knew better days were coming. All the while everyone was cheering and clapping in the excitement of no longer having to die prematurely at the hands of diseases like cancer, McGregor's, and AIDS. Bruce Wayne, the billionaire playboy philanthropist, quietly slipped into the shadows and left with his butler in his Rolls-Royce without much fanfare. He felt much better than he thought he would. Initially, he had only declared the news about the Xenobots after he revealed his parents' failed projects because he thought that the miraculous medical project would quickly grab everyone's attention faster than the former news and would become the main topic of discussion in the news outlets and public, thus making sure that not a lot of people tries to look deeper into the history of his parents. This would minimize the amount of filth that the netizens and news agencies could throw at his parents, thus not dirtying their image much at all. And looking at the faces of all those people, he even knew that he was more or less successful, but those smiles and cheers gave him a strange sense of satisfaction and pleasure as well. He felt a little warmer in his heart for some reason. Your parents would have been really proud of you if they were alive today, young master. You made the right choice today. Alfred encouragingly patted my shoulder in the car on our way home. But I thought you were against that. Me not liking something doesn't change the fact that it's a wise decision, young Master Bruce. Alfred gave me a kind smile with a nostalgic look on his face, at which I could only smile back. Bang 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 suddenly, rapid bullet shots were fired from a dozen cars and motorbikes which surrounded us as soon as our car entered a dark tunnel in the city with almost no other car nearby except our own. The gunshots weren't able to even scratch our car, which was completely bullet and missile-proof, but a couple of well-placed high-caliber bullets were all it took to take out the wheels, forcing our car to come to a halt despite the driver trying his best to steer the car away from danger. Young master, I think they are gunslinging modern ninjas. Alfred exclaimed after a few moments as he looked at the scene outside our car through the bulletproof windows, his voice sounding like he was doubting his own words. Bruce Wayne POV. You stay in the car, Master Bruce. I'll go outside and see what they want. Alfred spoke up after a few seconds of observing the assassins while taking out the Loggever gun from Judge Dredd that I gave him on his birthday. He knew that even though the ninjas would not be able to get inside our car using regular bullets, they would still be able to do it with explosives if they used a big enough charge. Have you finally gone insane, old man? Do you think a peak body serum and a fancy gun make you invincible? I can confidently say that I can beat up all of them without suffering even the tiniest injury. Can you? Look, Alfred, I understand your desire to protect me from danger, but I am already an adult now. I can take care of myself. You don't have to worry about me all the time, you know. I explained as I stopped him from hastily opening the door of the car and getting out. Plus, I am sure that even if we don't do anything, Cortana has already called for help anyway, right, Cortana? I asked, shifting my attention to the bracelet on my hand. I have, but it looks like these people have considered everything. They intercepted the car at a point where all police stations were at least 12 minutes away. Also, they seem to have registered several false complaints all at once, forcing most of the cops in the city to have gone to areas in the opposite direction from your current location. So, I doubt the cops will be able to reach you in the next 10 minutes, and even if they do, I am doubtful that they will be able to combat highly trained armed ninjas. I have already sent several combat drones in your direction too, but coincidentally, your location is also quite far away from home, so it will take about 7 to 8 minutes to reach you even at full speed. You will have to survive somehow till then. Cortana's slightly rushed voice sounded like she was panicking because of her powerlessness. Survive? You all are underestimating me too much, don't you think? I snorted as I watched two of the ninjas attach a special device to the front of the car in an effort to break in, while our driver, who was also a part of my armed security force, loaded up his handgun. They seem to know almost everything they need to know to successfully assassinate me, even the fact that I wouldn't have too big of a security detail with me today. A traitor in our ranks, perhaps. A traitor. But only a few people knew that we weren't going to bring guards to the press meeting today, and it was a last-minute decision too. As for those who knew, they are all people I personally vetted or trusted with my life. They shouldn't be betraying us for no reason. Alfred responded with a thoughtful expression. Mr. Wayne, it is only a matter of minutes before they are going to break into the car through the front window. I'll try to get out and sabotage that machine of theirs while taking out as many as possible, while you should sit back and wait for reinforcements to arrive. Remember, don't try to be a hero, Mr. Wayne, and I promise that you will. The driver/disguised security officer wasn't able to complete his sentence as I knocked him out with a simple, well-directed chop on his neck. Alfred. What? He was going to die if he tried to play the hero. Plus, I prefer not to leave witnesses for what is going to happen next. I snorted before calmly opening the car door. I think I am going to need a raise. Alfred sighed as he rubbed his forehead. I of course ignored him and looked at the ninjas, most of whom were still focused on breaking apart my car's front window. Hey guys, can you stop that? This was a limited edition, highly customized Rolls-Royce. The car costs more than your entire terrorist organization is worth. My words immediately grabbed their attention as I locked the car door behind me again to make sure that Alfred didn't get involved in the scuffle. I was actually lucky that I wasn't riding a Wayne Tesla car. At least, I can still market my company's electric car as tougher than Rolls-Royce after people on the internet see this bullet-riddled shell of a trash can. Get him. The leader of the ninjas commanded the others in a distorted voice as they stopped trying to blow away my car window. At his one command, I was instantly surrounded by about a dozen ninjas wearing pitch-black mesh suits all over their bodies with Kevlar vests on top. They were even wearing full face masks with a sword at their back and a gun in their hands. Truthfully, they looked less like ninjas and more like Special Force soldiers trained to the level of ninjas with ninja clothing. They didn't waste any time conversing with me as they shot me with everything they had, emptying entire clips onto me in an effort to put me down. However, unfortunately for them, I was faster than any target they might have faced before. With a superhuman level of dexterity and seemingly impossible agility, I was able to dodge each and every bullet coming my way with my expert maneuvers as I closed my distance to them. Dodging bullets at point-blank range? Impressive. You have become faster. The leader commented in an almost impressed voice, sounding like he was praising me for it. However, the next moment, he too took out two handguns and began to shoot me with them. This time, It was much more difficult to dodge those bullets. The guy was good, like really, really good. He was even able to accurately predict my moves to shoot at me more precisely, and this time a few of the bullets even grazed my skin. They didn't seem to be normal bullets since even though they did no actual damage to my body, they did sting a little like someone plucking body hair from my body. The other ninjas tried to capitalize on this by swarming me with swords in their hands. However, despite their exceptional training, they were just ordinary humans with normal human attributes. Neither their strength nor speed could even hope to match mine. To me, they just seemed like children swinging their plastic swords at me, hoping that they would be able to catch me by surprise. Quickly disarming about 7 of them, I swiftly knocked them out by hitting on their nerve points. It took me about 30 seconds before most of them were already unconscious. They were trained very well. None of them tried to flee or even thought of giving up, but most of them seemed to lack any meaningful experience to even hope to block my attacks, making this confrontation much smaller than I expected. But still, something about their fighting style feels really familiar. I thought in my mind as I tried to remember where I had seen these cold and calculating moves before, techniques that were designed to effectively do their job instead of just being flashy moves. Wait a minute. I whispered to myself as something suddenly clicked inside my mind. I instantly used the white world on the leader, and it showed me exactly what I wanted to see. His body was the epitome of the perfect body of a soldier, a body that I had seen before. So, did you finally recognize me? The leader spoke through his mask and distorted voice as he lowered his gun. Seriously? You attacked me in the middle of the damn road with the very recruits I told you to train. I asked as I released the neck of the ninja I was holding. Oh, come on. It wasn't an attack. I know about your bio upgrades. No way they can hurt you. Even that titanium-encased bullet didn't manage to put a scratch on you. I was just letting you sample the products I have prepared for you. A battalion of fresh, highly skilled and meticulously trained assassins, just like you ordered. Deathstroke revealed with pride as he theatrically waved his hands at the group, most of whom were lying unconscious right now. Next time, deliver my orders at my home. I joked. Haha, don't worry. There are just 12 of them here. The rest of the 188 are still at the base. I'll call them Bang. A gunshot suddenly interrupted Deathstroke, forcing him to fall to the floor with his hands clenched at his chest. Blood was visible coming out of a wound there. I have been waiting to do that for a long time. Alfred emerged from the car with the lawgiver in his hands. The hell? You shot him? He wasn't a villain. He was only Deathstroke. He was just dressed as an evil professional assassin to prank me. I know he was Deathstroke. That is the reason why I even shot him in the first place, Alfred answered. Unknown warehouse, Gotham. Bruce Wayne POV. Shit, ah crap. Where am I? Deathstroke, who was lying on a makeshift medical bed, suddenly woke up with a start as he groaned in a bitter voice. You freaking shot me, you psychotic butler. I bet you are feeling really proud of yourself, right? He almost growled in anger when he noticed Alfred standing a few feet away from him. I actually am, and very much so. Thank you for asking, Mr. Wilson. Alfred answered with a small, relaxed smile on his lips. Currently, we are in a secret warehouse that Wayne Enterprises owns. It was one of the many locations that I let Slade use as much as he wanted to effectively complete the project I gave him. It was quite a big underground warehouse, filled with all the facilities one could possibly want for a team of 100 or so people. So, Slade and his entire team were now using this location as their primary base in Gotham. After Alfred shot Slade, they didn't have too much time to escape since Cortana had alerted different authorities already and they were on their way. Slade had taken care of the CCTV cameras by himself even before his attack, so their identities were at least safe. The only thing they needed to worry about was that they were not traced or captured by anyone. So, I had immediately ordered the assassins to escape to their base with Deathstroke, while I myself stayed back to calm the cops and the press down. The group seemed quite subservient and didn't argue with my decision at all, quietly escaping with Deathstroke while leaving with me the location of the exact warehouse where they were staying. In fact, when I gave them the order to retreat, they accepted it so quickly that it didn't even look like they had tried attacking me just a couple of minutes ago, even if that attack was just a prank of sorts. Anyway, after I was done spinning up a false but believable story about the remnants of Penguin's Man trying to kill me under their imprisoned boss order to increase their gang's influence in Gotham, I and Alfred quickly went to the location of the warehouse to visit Deathstroke, and that had led to our current situation. You are a cruel monster, you know that, you Brit demon. Deathstroke grumbled through his teeth while looking at Alfred, who didn't look even the least bit bothered by his insults. You still think this butler of yours is a good human being, kid? He shot me with a gun straight at my heart even after I said that I wasn't trying to kill you. I would have died if I were a normal human. Slade defended himself while blaming Alfred. No, he didn't try to kill you. He shot you using a particular gun I call the Lawgiver, a gift from me on Alfred's last birthday. The gun can store different types of ammunition together and shoot whatever type of bullet is required at the moment. What he shot you with was a high-voltage stunner bullet. When shot, it is supposed to break some of the target's bones, stun them by scrambling their nervous system, and then knock them out cold for a day at least. You, on the other hand, recovered in just over an hour with perfect health. So, I am pretty sure that he didn't try to actually kill you. I explained while gesturing at the gun Alfred was holding in his right hand, like he still wanted to shoot Slade a couple of more times. The gun looked like any standard submachine gun, but had a little more toyish design. It had a display screen to show the type of ammunition that was being used, as well as the types of ammunition available to the user. Also, the trigger looked slightly more futuristic since there was a fingerprint scanner in there to make sure that only Alfred and any person whose prints are registered in the gun's database can use the gun. Also, the muzzle of the gun looked a little weird since it was designed in such a way that no muzzle flash or sound was allowed to escape from the gun during shooting. Okay, you have to give me one of those, Deathstroke uttered in a trance as he looked at the gun in Alfred's hand like he had fallen in love all over again. Unless, of course, Alfred decides to give that very one to me as an apology. No, you have to work for your own if you want one, Alfred stated with an impassive look on his face while tucking the gun that I had brazenly copied from Judge Dredd back inside his butler uniform. Getting a blunt rejection, Slade looked at me with some hope on his face. He looked like he really liked the idea of using such a gun. Would depend on your answers for the questions I ask you next, I responded as I took a small chair and sat directly in front of him. So why did you attack me, or if I were to believe you, why did you go to such lengths to play a prank on me? You told me to train a force that you could use in your security company. I did. I call them the Colony. They are a group of 200 soldiers. Well, 300 if you count the young ones who are still undergoing training in the Sahara. They are trained in almost all modern and traditional warfare techniques in the harshest of environmental conditions. They are the most dangerous armed or unarmed force on the planet. And yes, they are even more capable than the League of Assassins in certain regards while being completely loyal to you, of course. They tried to kill Bruce on your orders. Alfred gently reminded him from the side. Also, they lost to me in battle, and I wasn't even armed, I added. No matter how capable, they are still humans. Realistically speaking, there is no way that they can take on enhanced people like me, or especially Bruce with his monstrous physique, unless they can find a way to snipe him from miles away with some special bullet that can penetrate his skin, muscles, and bones while completely negating his healing factor. Also, they are very good soldiers but not as great as assassins since I myself am more of a soldier and mercenary instead of being a ninja assassin. Deathstroke explained with a visible tick on his forehead. As for their loyalty, tell them to do something, Bruce. It can be anything. Just order them. Slade stated with confidence. Fine. Kill yourself, I said as I looked at the soldier closest to me. The moment he heard my order, he immediately took out his revolver, put the muzzle on his forehead, and then without the slightest bit of hesitation, tried to pull the trigger. Wait. Give me the gun. I stopped him and took the gun from his hands to examine it. After a few seconds of examination, I didn't find anything wrong with the gun. It was loaded too. He really was going to shoot himself in the head just because I ordered him to. Just how the hell did Slade train these guys? I wondered to myself as I discreetly took out the bullets from the revolver and then handed it to another one of the colony members standing nearby. Shoot Deathstroke in the head, I ordered. The second member too didn't hesitate. Even without knowing that the gun wasn't loaded, he aimed the gun at his former teacher and pulled the trigger, but fortunately for Slade, it didn't shoot. It's okay. Go back to your position, I commanded. I had verified that Slade was speaking the truth. He had done exactly what he charged me so heavily to do. He had created a terrifyingly loyal and powerful force that was only faithful to me. But that didn't mean I was happy. Deathstroke, whose eyes had gone cold and cautious for a few seconds, exhaled in relief as he chuckled at the scene. For a few seconds, I almost thought that you were serious there. Brainwashed. I ignored him and asked without mincing my words too much. My face had a very serious expression plastered on it right now, one that clearly stated the fact that I don't like brainwashing others for my gain. Depends on how you view it. I mean, before I answer that question, we have to ask ourselves what even is brainwashing. There is subtle brainwashing everywhere in society. From big brands and companies brainwashing their customers, government brainwashing the public, or babies brainwashing their parents with their cute looks and annoying cries for food. Everyone uses some form of brainwashing to get what they want. He tried to make his cause. I don't like messing with people's minds. I rigidly declared with a frown on my face. I didn't mess with their minds in any way. I am a soldier, not a shrink. What I did was just follow the same thing that any country does to its soldiers. Make sure that they know for whom and why they are fighting. They know that each and every one of them is alive today because of you. They know that you are the reason that they got a life beyond the orphanage, why their sisters and brothers can lead happy lives of their own, and why they can do something meaningful with their lives. Before they were just human livestock that would sooner or later be a victim of this cruel world, but now, even though you decide their fates, they can at least fight for it. Also, they were already loyal to you even before my training. After some certain choice words from me, they just doubled down on that decision. Slade explained while giving a powerless shrug. I can believe that. Master Bruce does have quite a rather captivating and magnetic personality. The Wayne charm is quite strong in him, just like his father. Alfred for some reason supported the mercenary with a small nod of his head. Okay, but if they are going to work for me, I'll at least try to make sure that none of them gets hurt. I voiced out after understanding that I wasn't going to win this argument now that Alfred too supported Slade. Also, the colony members didn't exactly look like emotionless brainwashed soldiers like you would expect. They just looked like normal soldiers, only with more determined faces. I could actually understand their thought process. As Slade said, they were just probably incredibly thankful to me for supporting them and the orphanages and wanted to pay me back by helping me. In fact, that was what I wanted too. But Slade somehow had taken that thankfulness to a whole new level. To them, I was now equivalent to a king or an emperor. They were prepared to kill or be killed for me. Of course, they still didn't know about my secret as the Dark Knight yet, and I didn't intend to tell them as well. You mean you are going to give them some of the wonder drugs that you pumped inside our friend Alfred here to keep him so young and handsome? And yes, I do know that it sounds a little gay, but I don't care. I don't judge people's gender orientations, and I am sure neither will young Master Bruce. It is not what a gentleman does. Alfred responded with a small smile tugging on his lips. But I am grateful that you think I am handsome, although I am afraid I cannot go on a date with you. Alfred teased, at which Slade just harumphed. I could not help but giggle at their antics. Both Alfred and Slade had grown really good friends over the years. Despite the regular banters and childish arguments, it could even be said that the two were best friends. Weird friends, but best friends nonetheless. I was not really thinking about any biological serums, drugs, or steroids. I actually had something different in mind. Something quite unique. I ominously said with a smirk as I remembered a certain anime with animal-powered humans and terraforming ugly-ass cockroaches. By the way, do I get a gun like Alfred's now?
And that concludes this episode. If you enjoyed it, I'd seriously love it if you guys could leave a like on the video, as it genuinely helps out so much, and it keeps me going, plus it takes only 1 second. That said, have a wonderful day. See you in the next one.